Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 30 of the Former Action Guys podcast. As always, I'm your host, Justin Kramer, and this week I have a new guest on, Staff Sergeant Denny Raabe. It's hard, his name's kind of spelled weird, R-A-A-B-E, so it's kind of weird how I thought it was Raabe, and he even said it at the end, like, yeah, most people call me Raabe, and I'm like, oh, shit, that's what I thought it was, fuck. But he is the chief instructor at the Marine Artillery Scout Observers course at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and that's the schoolhouse that creates 0861s. And so we discuss like a lot of the new stuff that they're doing there, along with some of the stuff that he went through as a junior scout and stuff like that. He was in, or he's still in. He's still in the Marine Corps. Obviously, like I said, he's a staff sergeant. He's a JTAC as well. We don't really talk too much about that. I think I'm going to have him back on later on to talk some of his war story JTAC stuff. We mostly talk about the schoolhouse, and we talk about his first deployment to Afghanistan as a scout observer that was attached to the headquarters element, division fires. So he had like a big picture, understanding of the battlefield and stuff like that. Anyway, really good conversation. So I'm glad he came on and everything. So, but before we get to his episode, I just want to say that we did get another written review on Apple Podcasts. So thanks for that. It says from JMR0861, he writes, the only podcast I can listen to. I appreciate that. Podcasts aren't my thing, at least I thought so. Find myself pulled into each episode and looking forward to when I can fire it back up. Justin is recording history here. It's the stories and topics that won't make it into a book or documentary someday. And I completely agree. That's exactly my thought on it too. Like I said, I've said multiple times during the show is that, in this job field and other ones, just people I've met throughout the military and people that everyone knows that's been to combat or done cool stuff. There's always dudes that stand out that have done something, but they're never really recognized or anything like that. And I think it's a good opportunity for people to come out and tell their awesome stories, tell their experiences in the military, that real uncut, raw stories of what it's actually like, not what the recruiter's telling people and stuff like that. So, I think it's a really good thing. And then I had a comment on Instagram from Nothing to See Here NCIS, all one word. He says, all the boys in my section listen to your podcast and love it. Keep up the good work, man. Hey, guys, I appreciate it. Everyone in the section, shout out to you guys, whatever section that is. So appreciate you guys listening and stuff like that. Also, hey, I'm uploading everything on YouTube. So if you really want to just make comments on specific videos, go to those specific videos those specific episodes. Go to those specific episodes on my channel on YouTube, Former Action Guys Podcast on YouTube, and you can leave comments there. And I can either direct the people from the episode to your comment if they haven't seen it, or I can answer it for them if they don't have an answer, or if it's for me. So that's a great place. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and jump on YouTube and subscribe. That way you can go on there and leave comments and stuff like that. And, give me that like for the videos that you appreciate. Yeah. So finally, make sure you check out my website, jkramergraphics.com, and my Instagram page at jkramergraphics. That's jkramergraphics.com and at jkramergraphics on Instagram. You can also email any questions you have to formeractionguyspodcast@gmail.com. And I'm not going to hold this up, so enjoy the episode. Go in there, and he just got a VR headset. Dude, have you tried that?
Ooh, dude, yeah. The which one?
The Oculus.
The Oculus Rift?
Oculus something. Whatever the new Oculus one is.
Yeah, that's what we're playing with that stuff. We just tested all that stuff for the JTAC stuff. Huge fan.
Really? Yeah.
So much fun.
I can see that because having messed with his, I'm like, holy crap! Like, if you haven't done it, I had a buddy. For people that haven't done it, I had a buddy, or Farrell came over last night. Like, Michael, he's been on the show a few times. He came over last night and tried it and was like, what the fuck? And I was like, it's pretty wild. It's pretty crazy how clean it is on some of the stuff, and it's only going to get better.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I haven't jumped in the VR game, was because I don't know which way it's going. It's like right now you got the HTC and you got the Oculus. Like, who's going to win right now? HD, DVD, or Blu-ray? Like, which way are we going? So I'm not about to commit, $1,000 to something that's going to end up being washed out. And I'm like, damn. But yeah, the JTAC thing, I'm sure we can talk on it, but dude, huge thing. My favorite thing is, like, I'll take the J-Fire because you can, pick J-Fires up and flip through pages and stuff. My favorite is, like, man, I don't need that shit. And you just throw it off the OP and you just watch it, like, fly down. You're like, I don't need any of this shit.
That's wild, dude. That's like what a crazy leap from DVTE sitting in front of the computer.
Oh, huge. And we still use those.
Oh, really? Honestly, the DVTE. I'll probably put this part in the show. So what is it? The digital virtual training environment, or something like that?
Deployable virtual training environment.
Deployable virtual training environment. So it's a laptop that it's basically like a video game, and you can do call for fire and stuff. But the cool part is you local network all of them. You link them all together, and you can. So on ship, what we would do is I would set up my forward observer or my JTAC on one, and then I'd have next to him, if it was a JTAC, he had a JFO sometimes, depending on the scenario. He'd have a JFO off to the side, and then we'd have we'd grab a pilot from the ACE to come down, and he would do the comms for the pilot on his own laptop, and he's like flying a little Harrier or whatever around. And then, then we'd have the Arty guys would come up and set up a FDC in the back of the SAC and stuff like that and run an actual. So at one time, we literally had Arty, Air, the forward observers, and infantry commander, I think, was in there giving direction on what he would do in that scenario, I believe. But we had all that set up in the SAC because, there's nothing else to do on ship. And you can put guys through some pretty good stress on just that little laptop.
Oh, yeah, and you don't even have to move like their field of view, and you can stress them out super bad. And that's what we do now. So the DVTE is completely like, we don't use it anymore, never gets touched, this, that, and the third. So when I came and I got to Fort Sill, we have like 60 laptops that are just stacked up, just full suites, and like they never got touched. There's a big push now for learning modernization. That's kind of where we're getting to. And now the DVTE, we use them each fist that we have broken up in the classroom. It's just like you said, it's hardwired in. So every kid is their own observer, or every fist is their own observer, and then we have the God mode, and then we can display up on the projector. So trying to convey messages to kids is really the hard thing now, especially these generations, man. It is so tough.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
I get that. Yeah. It's they're different people, man. They grew up, they're a group. I don't know how old are you?
I'm 29.
Okay, so you've kind of been around it too. I was born in '83, so that means I grew up like the internet was out, but no one really ever had it in the '80s. That was like that was the beginning, and so I never had access. So I'm an analog guy that went to internet, and now everybody is like they've grown up with all the information, and it's too much information
in their pocket.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird.
Yeah, I was definitely I was in the perfect sweet spot because I got my first phone when I was like 16, just like a Verizon flip phone. Like mom didn't want me to have it, but like everyone had a phone. So like I grew up, come home when the street lights come on.
Yeah.
Or when dad whistles, you come out of the woods and like dinner's ready. Like that was, or you hear everybody like hollering and like, okay, I guess we got to go home. And that's how I grew up. And then 16 years old.
Where are you from?
So I'm all over from like the Middle East Coast. So I was born and raised outside of Baltimore until I was like, I don't remember, until like third or fourth grade. But then we moved to PA. So my parents are split. Mm-hmm. So I grew up with my mom and my stepdad, but we moved all over the place, just all over Maryland. And then we ended up in Pennsylvania on the west side. And then we ended up outside of Pittsburgh. And then we ended up outside of Philly. And then we came back. And then we moved to Virginia. Yeah, so I'm like all over. Like I've moved more times than I am old. So that kind of plays into definitely why I am like the way I am. Because I was thinking about it, like, why am I kind of the person I am? And I think a lot of it is like moving around all the time and like not having like any friends whatsoever.
Yeah, no lifelong friends.
Yeah, like no, like I figured out the fastest way to make friends was to be funny. So it's like, be funny, make jokes, and get the hell out of there. So like, people will remember just enough about you that you're the funny guy. But yeah, I really didn't have any friends growing up. And so I grew up really, really alone. It sounds like a bad thing, but it's really not, because I just learned to be self-sufficient. So like my parents, my stepmom, or not my stepmom, my mom worked, my stepdad worked. And it was like, I have a little brother, but he was in like a daycare thing. So I would just be like, I was in like 5th grade, and I would like walk to school and like walk home because my school was, half a mile away. And then the rule was like, lock the door, shut the shades, and go to bed at 10. And that was like 5th grade. It's like, okay.
Oh, no way.
That was just life. Mom worked during the day. Everyone else worked at night, and I would be in bed. And as soon as I see the car come in, I'd turn off my PlayStation. I'd run upstairs real fast, pretend like I was sleeping. But yeah, I did all my homework. It was just self sufficiency, and that's how I was raised. Was just
damn. That's a pretty wild. I mean, I had the whole same way, like, hey, come in at night or when the lights come on and stuff like that, and but I have a brother and a sister, and then I also have a half brother who he lived with us for a while too. Same thing. My parents split as well, so I know what it feels like to move around. Not as much as that though. Were one of your parents in the military?
So my dad was, but it didn't affect why we moved. So my dad was in from 86 to 90, and then I was born in 90. So I'm pretty sure that's a big factor as to why he got out. So he did. We all grew up outside of Maryland, and then he moved to West Virginia when I was like 96. So I got like this weird like West Virginia twang accent mixed with like this weird dialect of just outside of Baltimore. So it depends on how much I've had to drink. Like my accent depends.
Yeah.
So people can't really pin where I'm from. But yeah, my dad was in the military, and then he went to West Virginia. Great place. He's been there for the last 20 years.
Rugged, man. West Virginia's rugged.
Dude, I love it. And that's like right where he belongs too. Like my dad, like my favorite thing my dad always like grew up saying, he's like, if you gave me 3 wishes, it'd be to leave me the hell alone, and you can keep the other 2 wishes. It's like that
is how some people are, man.
Yeah, that's dad. And like dad is just an absolute workhorse. Like that was it. You work hard and then we play harder, but you have to work first. Mm-hmm. Like that was the rule. It's like you have to do your job. You do it right the first time. You don't let any room for interpretation. Like, let no one tell you how you did your job, because you knew you did it right the first time to the best of what you had. And then we drink a beer and watch football. Like, that's how I grew up. So it was like work first and then handle business or handle whatever you want to do afterwards.
Was your dad in the Marines?
No. So my dad was Army. He was a motor team mechanic, and he was a driver and a driver and a mechanic. So from 86 to 90, he did the Korea thing. So he's got a lot of cool stories with that. And then he was a driver. He used to drive missiles from Fort Bliss to White Sands, New Mexico. And he would just drive these secret missile stuffs back and forth, and Area 51 is where he would go. So nice. Stuff like that. That's pretty cool. He's never really told me anything crazy with that. Okay.
I was gonna say my dad is also in the Army, and he lived out by when he was a kid, his dad was in the Air Force. My grandpa was in the Air Force, and he worked out there on that base or out there where Area 51 and all that shit is. So, but I don't know anything about it. We've never talked about it, about any, I really need to ask him about that, the stuff. The dad in the Army thing, my dad wasn't too happy that I decided to join the Marines. How about yours?
Dude, he really didn't care. So you would never know my dad was in the military. He was in 86 to 90, and then 9/11 happened, and he went back in the reserves. So this dude was an older guy, and my dad's a thug. my dad is just old school. I wouldn't say hillbilly, but he's old school Southern. You better come correct the first time, or he's gonna let you know.
Yeah,
it's yes sir, it's no sir, and it's pull your pants up.
You're an
adult here. Yeah, you don't mess with it. So he went back in 2001, and then he ended up deploying, I think, in 2013. Do you remember he was in Bagram, but do you remember the transport plane that took off and then ended up crashing? I don't know if you remember that. That was a real big thing for a while. Yeah, so it was, I want to say it was Bagram, but a C-17, I want to say it was a C-17, went to take off, and the load wasn't set right, so the load slid to the back, and it stalled the plane out, and it crashed, and there's a dash cam. Yeah, there's a dash cam footage of this huge fireball. Well, he was there. He was there when that happened. He said he could feel the heat after it crashed. And I'm like, damn. So that's where he was at.
Yeah, so I'm looking at it right now. It says it's National Airlines Flight 102. It was a cargo flight operated by National Airlines between the British and somebody else, and then on 29 April 2013. That's fucking crazy. I never heard about that.
Yeah, it was 13. Yeah, it's the dash cam video is nuts too, because this plane just goes up and you just see it stall and then just kind of fades out of frame, and then right behind the landscape, boom, and it's dang, yeah.
Fucking crew chiefs fucked them.
That's great, but yeah. So he did the Afghanistan thing. You know, and that's pretty. Like I said, he's an older guy.
That's wild that your dad came back and then he was in the 80s and 90s and then came back and went to Afghanistan in 2013.
So it's really crazy. The whole family, man, is super. And it's crazy when I was listening to your podcast, your first one with just you, and you're like, yeah, my dad was in the Army and my grandfather's in the Army Air Corps before. I'm like, dude, mine too. Like, it was the exact same thing. And he's like, he was in Japan. I'm like, dude, mine too. Do we have
no way.
Yeah, so my granddad, same thing. He was in Japan. I want to say he was Army Air Corps before the big switch. But then my great-grandfather actually has a Distinguished Flying Cross. He was shot down, and he was landed, like he was shot down and survived on like an island by Papua New Guinea with like cannibals and stuff. And like there's this whole big like story about it. Yeah, so I have to find that. But I remember I was in Afghanistan, and my grandma actually sent me the article and like the story with that, and it's like this whole huge thing. But yeah, there's like, growing up as a kid, I remember seeing like the Distinguished Flying Cross and like the World War II Victory Medal. Like I didn't know what that was,
dude. If you can find any info about that, I'll post it up on my Facebook page. I mean, you can't really, if you have photos. Actually, you know what? I could probably post it up on my Instagram as well. I can just put excerpts of the text. But if you find like actual news articles about it, I can post those directly up on my Facebook page. That's fucking crazy.
But yeah, I gotta. Yeah, it sounds really crazy, like Cannibal Island and stuff. But I was reading it, and it was like the natives like liked trading like mirrors and combs and stuff. And I guess they were just kind of chilling. So, but there's pictures of people hanging out. Yeah, it was. So yeah, that's. So I got like a big long lineage of just. I don't think anyone was ever officer, but my dad. My dad has a best friend, right? The best friend has a sister. That's my mom. So my dad got with his best friend's sister. And now I'm here. So my uncle Rocky, was in the Marine Corps, and he was an infantryman back. I want to say my dad and Rocky were both supposed to go in the Marine Corps at the same time, if I got my story right. And then something happened to where Dad went in the Army. I think it was like you had to wait if you're joining the Marine Corps. And my dad's like, fuck this, I'm going now. So he just went in the Army and ended up as a motor T guy. But he also liked turning wrenches. My dad's just a gearhead guy. So.
I mean, I like turning wrenches as well, but being a mechanic in the military is not like, it's not fun. It's like, it's just all day just fixing shit that you didn't break and you don't get to drive.
I have never seen a happy motor T guy ever.
I knew a couple kids that loved it. They thrived on it, and it was their thing, and that's cool. I got a bunch of buddies that did it, and I think a lot of the guys I hung out with, we were all really good mechanics, but most of us just didn't like being a mechanic in the Marine Corps. We like working on our own shit. We like working on each other's stuff, but just being a mechanic, like changing out engines and Humvees and like replacing diffs and shit. It's like, dude, this sucks. Like it just
everything's heavy. Everything sucks.
There's no appreciation. It's like working at the Sears like auto place, but at the same time you're getting yelled at and you have to come in and work out in the morning and like people treat you like shit. It's like. Yeah. So it didn't feel like the Marine Corps, and that's why I didn't like it. But some guys like it, and they thrive. Like I said, they thrive on it, and you need them. Like as much as you hate to hear it that you're a support guy. Like we would be in Iraq, and they'd be like trying to raise morale because everybody's miserable. They're like, look, guys, we know. You're sitting on the base and you're turning wrenches, but like you got to understand you have an important role here, and you do, but you just you hate it. You're like, I'm in the military and I'm in Iraq, but I'm sitting on a fucking base waiting to get off work to go to a coffee shop or something. And you're like, it's just like this is the war. It's just for me.
That's your war right there. For that is your war, and it's a grind.
Yeah.
Shit, I don't want any part of that.
And with that, I was a mechanic at maintenance battalion. So being a mechanic, I would say being a mechanic at like a battalion or being a mechanic at like an infantry battalion or an arty battalion would be different because you're actually on the move with them. You're actually going to the field. You're actually doing shit. But at maintenance battalion specifically, you're fucking sitting there rotting away like, God, this sucks.
Yeah, you're steady grinding, like you said, other people's mistakes and like shit other people broke.
Yeah, exactly.
every day.
So, did your uncle, did he persuade you to join the Marines, or were you?
No. No, well, he kind of did, but he never talked to me about it. So Uncle Rocky actually passed away in 2001, July 4th, 2001, drunk driving. So that's like a huge thing, which is a huge bummer because like Uncle Rocky's like larger than life. Like this dude was literally like 6'3", 6'4", yoked, Marine Corps tattoo, just a big, gnarly, scary dude. And he was a fucking sweetheart. Like he was like the leading guy on like the bowling team. His wife, he worked
leading
for her.
guy on the bowling team.
Like that was Uncle Rocky. Like this, like I said, this personality that was just bigger than life. And dude, I was 11. No, I was 10. I was 10 when that happened. I just remember, like bits and pieces of like what that's done to the family. But that whole thing was absolutely terrible. Like Uncle Rocky was like went to the bar that he always goes to. Got a little hammered. I guess he fell asleep, hit a pole, and then. From there on out, like it literally tore my family apart. So that's like again, like when people talk about like guys have a plan, like drunk driving, this, that, and the third. Like I take that shit super serious. I'm like, dude, I watched that shit tear my family apart. If y'all get drunk and drive and you make it back to the bricks, I'm whooping your ass when you get there.
Yeah.
I do not play with that at all.
Yeah, no, I get that, man. I mean, you have a personal connection to it. You know?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie and say I've never had a drink and drove before because I have. I mean, everybody has. A lot of people have. Maybe you.
I'm not guilty, or I am just as guilty. You go to the bar, you have a couple, and then you're like, oh no, I'm good, man. I'm totally like. I think about it, like, don't do it. You remember what happened? And I'm like, no, I'm totally good. And then I get in the car, and I'm like, dude, what the fuck am I doing? And I get home, and I'm just like, fuck, dude. Like I'm just as guilty, even though I sit here and preach against it. Like there's times where I'm like. You're just as bad as everybody else. You're an idiot.
After I joined the Marines, like I never really got hammered and drove anywhere. Like, I mean, I did. It's not like I was doing it all the time before I joined the Marines, but I'm saying like I wasn't necessarily afraid of getting pulled over and getting in trouble. I was afraid of going through the gate. I lived on base my entire career. I lived in base housing almost my entire 12 years. So if I went out and drank, I had to come on base. So it was like an incentive for me to not go out and get hammered. I'd even go to dinner and have like 2 or 3 beers and be like, man, I hope they don't fucking smell this. Like, I hope I don't.
Yeah.
It's like
you catch that one kid on a bad day.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, damn.
Exactly. Yeah. So what year did you end up joining?
So I joined in 2009. That whole thing. So I told you I moved around a lot. What really drove me to join was I went from Maryland. I lived in Maryland outside of Baltimore, and I loved it. I actually had friends there. Life was going good. I was graduating. I was in like honors English, and like I was really doing good stuff. I had no intention of ever going to college. I remember they had like fill out the top 3 colleges that you've applied for, and I was like the only kid that didn't have like my shit was blank. And they're like,
I feel you.
Yeah, they're like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm joining the military. And they're like, that's it? Like, that's your plan? I'm like, yes. Like, how do you know the military's going to take you? I'm like, because I'm me, Like,
how are they not going to take me? Like, if I can't get accepted in the military, what the hell's wrong with me?
Exactly. And that's my, like, I had no drive to go to college, like, at all. Like, even now, like, I have a little bit of one, but I really don't want to.
Yeah.
So I moved around, and I was in Maryland, having a good time, and I moved halfway through my senior year, or my junior year, down to Virginia. Mm-hmm. And when I say it's bad, like, it was bad. Like, my mom was like, yeah, he's in a 12th grade English class. Like, he's advanced. He knows how to read. And, like, I'm doing, like, composition and all these crazy papers. And then they put me in this Virginia 12th grade English class. But it's, like, the stupid kid 12th grade class.
Oh,
so
really?
We're reading, like, How to Kill a Mockingbird. And there's, like, dudes just showing up drunk. There's dudes, like...
What?
There's a dude who blew his, like, fingers apart, like, with a firecracker in, like, Autotech. And he's just, like, sitting there with, like, he's, like, missing fingers and nubs. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I went from, like... collegiate, prep stuff to like there's like 2 pregnant girls in my class, and I'm like, dude, what is like where am I right now?
Yeah.
And that place was just no good, and I was like, Mom, I'm either moving back by myself or you're helping me. Pick one. So I actually moved back in with a really, really close family friend. Ended up working full time. I had enough credits to graduate. Or no, I had too many to go to school, but not enough to graduate. So I had to go to like the bad kid school. So I'm supposed to take like this.
You had too many to go to school, but not enough to graduate?
Right.
How does that work?
I don't know, but they said I needed 1 science credit to graduate. And I was like, but they're like, but you can't come to school. And I was like, well, I work full time. Can I just come to like a 9 a.m. science thing? And they're like, that's not how this works. Like you have to do.
Yeah, this isn't college.
Yeah, you have to do a half day. If you worked, you had to get work release. So you could either do a half day or a full day. And I'm like, well, let me just cop one class. And they're like, no. I'm like, well, they're like, you have to come a half day. I'm like, I have a full-time job. Like, I work 39 hours a week because I'm a minor and I can't do 40. So,
I had a kid in my senior year in high school that was the same way. He got held back. He didn't get to graduate because he didn't have enough elective credits. So he had to do another year of school
like
just to
class.
do electives, just to do like gym, like weightlifting, like fucking graphic, stuff like that. And I was like, that is such bullshit. Like, this dude is getting held back from graduating because he's got to go do like, whatever bullshit class.
Yeah.
I felt bad for him. I'm like, dude, that sucks so bad.
Well,
man.
that's literally me. Is I took too many electives. Like my whole first 2 years of high school, like I banged everything out. I didn't have any electives. And then my last year, I had like gym class, gym aid, weightlifting, and gym class.
Yeah,
so I didn't do anything.
That's how my senior year was. I could have taken a half day, but it was like 3 hours of graphic design in the morning. I was like the graphic design teacher's assistant, so I'd be in there setting up, which was cool. Our graphic design course, we had actual like printing press. We had like a legitimate I think it was like 20 feet long, man. Like this was and I'd go in there and like run the printing press or run all this other shit. So I'd do three hours of that. Then I'd go to gym. No, I went to the school paper. I was a photographer for the school paper. Then I went to gym, and then I had a writing class in the afternoon.
There you go. It's pretty easy.
Pretty solid stuff.
So I needed one science credit to graduate. And they were like, it's going to take you 3 months. It's all computer-based. And, like, it was called the Gateway School. And, like, everybody knew the Gateway School was, like, where all the drug abusers went. Like, all the kids that fought in school. Like,
yeah.
Of course, I go there, and I'm like, bro, get me the hell out of here. So this 3-month class now took me 2 weeks. Like, 10 days. I was in, out, science. I'm out of here. And they're like, well, you have all your credits, so what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm going to work until the summer, and then I'm going to graduate, and then I'm going to move home. So, I've always, I lived with my brother. I call him my brother, but he's a super close friend. Lived with him. I went to work every day, just, 16, 17 years old, just living an adult life, paying bills. I thought that's how shit worked. So I moved back, graduated, went back to Virginia, and all my friends hung out in the parking lot. Like it was, you have the one small town parking lot where everyone meets up on the weekends. And a bunch of dumb shit happened down there where I almost got beat up by a dude who was high, had a colostomy bag, because he was jumping into junkyards and stealing catalytic converters and got attacked by the junkyard dog. So this dude was like super fucked up. Dude was like crazy. So he's high on shit. He's all messed up. We're in the parking lot. I'm talking to my buddy, and then I hear like, "What the fuck did you say?" And we're all like, "Ooh, here it is. Here's tonight's fight. Like this is where it's going down." And this dude's like looking at me, and I'm like, "Is he fucking talking about me?" And this dude comes like storming over, and he tries to fight me, and it's like this whole big thing. And I'm like, get me the fuck out of Virginia. So that was Friday night. Saturday, I wake up and I'm driving and I call my mom and I'm like, Mom, I'm going to the recruiter station today. And she's like, okay, stop by the work and we'll talk about it. So it was like a 45-minute drive to the station, and my mom worked at the Walmart that was in between the two. So I stopped there, and swear to God, she said the 3 rules. 1, don't be an infantryman. 2, don't be the guy that says fire for effect. And 3, make sure you get a job that has transferable skills once you're done. And I'm like, well, I won't be an infantryman. That's easy. I don't know what fire for effect means. And I'm pretty sure like every job has transferable skills. So we're good there.
Yeah.
And that was it. So
That's
I went straight to the recruiting station. It was a Saturday. The Air Force, the first door I found was the Air Force. That was closed. I didn't want to go in the Navy. The Army, no one was there. And then at the very end of the hallway, there was one door open, and it just had like blue carpet and like the whole, like had the blood stripe on the wall. And I just kind of like leaned down and I was looking at it, and like I started to walk down, and I was like, nah, man, I'm good. And then this dude like rolls out in a rolly chair. He's like, hey, what's up, man? What do you want? No, come here, let's talk.
Like, got him.
that's literally what happened.
Gee, that's crazy how many people have that story where they go in and it was like, well, the Marine recruiter was the only one there. They're like, oh yeah, so-and-so was there, so that's who I went with.
Yeah, like the Army was literally my first choice because I was going to be like, I was super intimidated by the Marine Corps. Like I watched, you watched, I'm trying to think what it was, just like the moto stuff on like A&E growing up and like boot camp and Hell Week and stuff. And I was like, dude, there's no way I could do any of that.
Like, that looks crazy.
Yeah, I'm like, there's no way. I just remember like watching Bud's Hell Week like on repeat, and I'm like, dude, that's impossible. These guys are superhuman. There's no way I could do that.
Yeah, you look at them like they're pro athletes. You're like, man, that's a different level of person.
Yeah. but they don't see the whole backstory where the kid's 18 and scrawny. So
exactly.
But the guy, the dude, the recruiter, he wasn't actually my recruiter at the time, but we started talking, and he's like, "When do you want to get out of here?" And I was like, "As soon as possible."
Yep.
So I depped in November, and I left January.
Nice.
So I was like 60, like less than 60 days. And I listened to your thing where you were just drawn out forever.
Dude, years, like literally years.
Yeah.
I went down to MEPS the second time, like when I thought everything was good. Like, okay, my court stuff is good. Everything was great. So I go down to MEPS, thinking I'm signing up and going to be leaving soon. And they're like, "Well, you've been arrested for drugs, marijuana." They're like, "You've been arrested for drugs before, so you have to go talk to the psychologist." And I go talk to this dude, and he's like, "Yeah, you've been arrested before, you've been at this point I'd gotten arrested twice." He's like, "You've been arrested twice for drugs, so I'm gonna deny you entry for a year to see if you can stay out of trouble for a year." And I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me, man?" And that's when I left. I left the recruiter. Like the recruiter drove me back. And I left his office and left all my shit. I didn't even realize. I didn't even realize that all my shit was at his place. At the recruiting office. I was just like, "Fuck this! I'm pissed. I'm done." But I'm glad I stuck it out and I came back and did it, man. But it was tough, man. It's a tough pill to swallow, especially when you're telling your family and friends that, like, "Hey, I'm going to the Marines. I'm going to the military."
That's what you say too. Like, you sold your car, you quit your job, like you're ready to go, and then it's like, no, like, well, fuck, I gotta undo all this shit I just did.
Yeah, so it is what it is, man. But
now you're here, so
I did it. It was fun. It was, like I said, it was totally worth it. I didn't have the same kind of reasoning to come in like you. Like, I wasn't like, I got to get out of this town. Like, I kind of always knew I was going to join the military. Same thing in high school. I didn't even take the SATs or anything like that. I was like, no, I'm joining the Marine Corps when I get out or when I get done. Yeah. And then September 11th obviously was a driver for that. For me, ultimately, to pull the trigger, like I said, the first time I went, like I've said before.
Well, you were the senior, right? You were a senior when that happened?
Yeah.
Like, you're old enough to, like, this is impacting my day-to-day right now. Like, as where I was a kid. I was in, like, 6th grade.
Well, the weird thing happened. When September 11th happened, I was... the seniors at my school didn't have school that day. There was state testing, school testing, and the seniors had already taken their test, so we didn't have to be there. So we got the morning off. We had to be there in the afternoon, I think is what it was. And I was at my house, and my buddy was going to come over. We were going to smoke weed before we went to school. And and then one of our other friends comes over, and he's like, "Hey, man," he's like, "Did you hear what happened?" He's like, "A plane crashed in a World Trade Center." And I'm like, what the fuck's the World Trade Center? I live in Lafayette, Indiana. I grew up in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I've never been to New York City. And so I'm like, okay, like, that's crazy. Like, I don't know what that is, but okay. And then me and one of my other buddies worked at McDonald's at the time. It's a high school job. So I was like, "Hey, now we're all high. Let's go get some McDonald's. Let's go get something to eat." So we go to McDonald's, and they're like, "Do you guys hear what happened?" And we're like, "Yeah, he was talking about it." And we go back to the break room, and we turn on the TV to see what it's all about. Because I'm like, why is everybody talking about this? Because I'm that's a whole nother world. And this is like, again, like, I didn't have a computer at home or anything like that. Yeah. So it's not like you have the internet and you're looking shit like this up. If you don't interact with it by just coming across it, you're probably not going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And so we go back.
News either,
yeah. And we go back to the break room and turn the TV on, and that's when the second plane hit. And I'm like, holy shit. And then we sit there and watch the towers fall, and it was just like, holy fuck, man. And then they're like, we're being attacked. And then me and a group of buddies, man, we end up, we go down to the recruiter's office. I was like, fuck it, dude, I'm going. You guys want to go? Let's do this. And honestly, most of the dudes didn't go. They ended up flaking out, not joining the military. My buddy Michael Hanthorne is one of the guys that ended up going, and I feel bad because I don't feel bad, but the other guys I wish they would have, because they made now they're dudes had been in and out of jail and ended up doing more drugs than just smoking weed. I don't know why, but that's what they got into. But it's just like, you hate to see it, but yeah, September 11th, man, it was a weird time.
Yeah, so I remember, I was in like 6th grade, and then I remember, so I lived out like probably an hour outside of DC. So a lot of kids that I went to school with, their parents worked in DC. And I just remember I was in Mr. Hebel's 6th grade history class. And I want to say our principal was like a former military guy, because he's just like, on the PA system, "Attention all teachers, we need an immediate thing right now, this, that, and the third." And then all the teachers leave. And then it's like, we're just by ourselves, like 6th grade. We don't know what's happening. And then the teachers, I remember the door opens and I can see outside the hallway and like 2 of the female teachers are like crying. And like Mr. Hebel is like trying not to cry. And he comes in and he's like, raise your hand if your parents work in DC or you know, someone that works in like New York. And we're like, what the fuck? Like, I just remember like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
And then the principal comes over and he's like, the United States has had a terrible accident. The World Trade Center's been hit. And I did the same thing. I was like, what is a World Trade Center? And then it was like, the thing cuts off. We all just kind of sit there, and then I'll never forget. It was whenever that second plane hit, the PA system again is like, "It was no accident. We are under attack." And it, like, teachers, prepare to have all your students evacuate the school. And we're like, "What the fuck is going on?" Dude, it was like a movie. Like, you open the door to walk outside because we're supposed to form up. Dude, it's like cars, like parents like getting on the curb, like books and shit are everywhere. Like, it is just mayhem. We're like, "What the fuck is going on?" And like, I didn't know anything. My mom's like, you know, my mom didn't come to school. Like, I'm just going to get the bus when the bus comes. And I don't remember how I got home, but I remember going to like my aunt's house and we're watching it. And then, like I didn't know what I was watching. My mom actually was like, yeah, do you remember Home Alone? Home Alone 2? That's the buildings in Home Alone 2.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, oh, bummer. Like, they just, like, I didn't realize. So I didn't know what that meant, but I grew up with like the war in Iraq. Like, I grew up watching all of that. And then, so 2009 is like, I want to go to war. I don't know why, but I really want to go do this. And I don't care what you do, just put me over there. Because I thought everyone was an infantryman. I had zero idea that you could be like a mechanic or like a truck driver. Like, I didn't know that.
That's actually a pretty common thing I run into that, you know, out in the civilian world and especially in the academic world. Everyone you talk to just assumes that everybody in the military has been in combat and everybody has PTSD. Yeah. You know, and it sucks because they all walk on eggshells around you. It's like a really shitty stigma to have. But, you know, what are you going to do?
Yeah, and then, I mean, my biggest thing is, like, dudes will play that card, too, around the folks that don't know any better. Because, like I said, I didn't know. I just thought like, you went on a plane, you went to boot camp, you got off the plane, and, like, you were in a firefight. Like, I thought that was, like, the order of things. Yeah, you boys ready to die? Like, that's what I thought was happening. And I was like, I didn't know. So I get my job, and they're like, you know, what do you want to do? Or I don't have any arrests. Like, I'm just like this like kid that barely exists, don't have any friends, ready to get out of here. I take the ASVAB, I score super good on it. The guy's like, you can have any job you want. But these jobs have bonuses. Like, do you want extra money? And I'm like, fuck yeah, like I want extra money. It's like, here's $5,000 to be a fire control specialist. What is that? And I'm like, I don't know. And the one guy's like, oh, I think it's like a firefighter or something like that. And I'm like, type firefighter. Dude, I thought I was a firefighter all the way up until, like, the end of MOS school.
You're like, when are we putting out a fire, guys?
That's what I remember. I was like, where are the firefighting shit at? Like, when do we start that part of class? Like, I had no idea that I was not a firefighter until, like, I get to the fleet, and I'm like, well, fuck. Because I was like, cool, I'm not a guy on a radio, and this job is totally transferable, and I'm not a grunt. Met all 3 things Mom wanted me to be.
What do you mean? You didn't do call for fire in MOS school?
No, totally did. Didn't understand. I was, you know, after call for fire, I assumed that there'd be a firefighting portion. I don't know what I was thinking. I was just a really dumb. I'm a very much like, I don't pay attention. I just go with the flow and I don't think. Yeah. So the whole time I'm just like, you know, they're like, oh, radio has 3 transmissions. A call for fire is 3. And in my head, I'm like, why are we talking about cars? Like, I'm not a smart dude by any means. But, like, I hear transmissions and I'm just thinking cars. Like, I literally just repeat and regurgitate what you told me to say. That's how I passed. And I just regurgitate what you tell me to say.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, okay. It's when people start using, you know, their industry language, you know, that's a really good way to put it, I guess. You know, how we use acronyms and we use certain words, and you just don't think about it that normal people don't know what the hell you're talking about. Like when I say, hey, yeah, I used to call in airstrikes. Like, what the fuck does call in an airstrike mean? Like, nobody knows what the hell that means. Like, that's my way of, like, describing it, that I'm like, that really doesn't make sense if you've never been exposed to that. Like, that doesn't, there's really no good example to explain, like, you know, have you seen Pauly Shore when he does the laser in the Army now? You know, that, I did that.
Yeah. Which is actually really great now because we have, like, games like Call of Duty and shit. Like, kids grow up on that. Yeah. And it's huge. And I'm like, do you know that one mission where you got, like, the pointer? And they're like, oh, yeah. I'm like, that's an IR pointer. That's literally what... You know how, like, the Hellfire hits it? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, that's not how that works at all. So don't expect that.
So but, you are, and I want to get to you being an instructor at Fort Sill later on.
Yeah, for sure.
But you are an instructor there now. How do you look at your time at Fort Sill, like, looking back now as an instructor? What are things that you wish you would have known as a student, like, kind of go through that process of like what it's like to look back and look at yourself like, what an idiot. I was doing this, or I'm an asshole because I did this.
So when I was a student, like I said, I was in Fort Sill for 6 months. So like I was just stuck there. These kids today are like, well, I've been here for 2 months. I'm like, bitch, shut up. I was here 6 months. Like I don't care about you at all.
Were you mopping the same floor over and over again?
Dude, buff like Delta deck every day was just stripping and buffing. That's all you did. Or sleep under the rack or try to hide or, just whatever. We didn't have phones, so like we didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
There was nothing to do. But no, so which is actually neat. Now that I'm an instructor at Fort Sill, so I taught the Chiefs course for like my first year and a half, so the advanced side of stuff. So like I was a staff sergeant teaching like staff sergeant and gunnies, which is super weird.
Yeah, that is interesting that they had a staff sergeant being a Chiefs course instructor.
Yeah, which again, I'm very book proficient, so like that's where being a chief is. Find your answers in the book. That's what we preach a lot is. Mm-hmm. The answers are in there. Go find it in the book and stop saying, oh, my corporal told me this. Because 9 times out of 10, your corporal's fucking wrong.
Yeah.
Like, sorry. Like, people just regurgitate things. So let's find the answers in the book. Let's have a good doctrinally sound foundation, and then let's build our TTPs around that, right? You have your doctrine. The doctrine might have gaps. You fill that gap with SOPs and TTPs. But let's stay doctrinally sound. So that's kind of what we taught. And that was super tough because you have, a staff sergeant and trying to tell a gunny like what to do, or like, hey gunny, your EFSTs are all dicked up. He's like, well, that's not how I did it. And I'm like, bro, I don't give a fuck. Like, this is very wrong. This is not what we're teaching. Please, can you do it the way I'm trying to teach you?
Yeah, we're trying to get everybody on the same page.
Yeah, that's all we're trying to do is, hey, we have to get a level playing field, and then after that you go back to the fleet, put your own sauce on it, put your flavor on it. But for right now, everyone needs to understand what an EFST is, right? An essential fire support task. Everyone needs to know the Marine Corps planning process. Like, when you go into a meeting, this is what you expect.
Yeah.
When you get to this point in a meeting, this is what other people are responsible for. This is what you are responsible for. Mm-hmm. And trying to just lay that flat for everybody. And, I'm pretty good at, like, not getting pushed around. Like, if someone has a problem, like, I'm definitely, I'll definitely tell you what I think.
What is the schoolhouse teaching as our SSgt missions, self-ending or not? The age-old question.
Next question. I cannot comment on this time. No, there's that one. What's the other one? Immediate suppression. Is that self-ending or not? Is SSgt self-ending or not? Like, you can argue that. Those questions, like, I'm just like, okay, I don't care. I honestly don't remember what we argued. But like Master Guns Munoz, we would talk about it. Master Guns Pate, everyone would get all up, and that's how you just fired people up. It was like, hey, SSgt self-ending. It's like, no, it's not.
Yeah, some dudes will really, they're entrenched in their thought process. Like, this is the way it is. And it's like, whatever, man, I don't care. Do you want me to say the word at the end?
Yeah, it's in gap of doctrine, fill it with SOPs or TTPs. If you have an immediate suppression, and after that there's no end of mission for it, but I need to know that you're still alive, hey, end of mission suppression effective. Like, I'm not going to lose my fucking no doctrine sound, try again. Like, that's
in
stupid.
Combat, they're like, hey, don't do that again. Don't do that again. All right.
Well, that's kind of like the JFO thing, too. The JFO program, I think is great, but it cracks me up because it's like they spend so much time on like the JFO IPR and this and the quals and shit and like making sure you're up to date, which is good, but then you get to comp, and it's not like I will take a 4 through 6 from anybody or 4 through 8 from anybody. It's like stay by for 4 through 8. Like, no, negative, your IPR's not up to date. Sorry, bud. Now I'm going to take your information. Try again later. Click. Like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, that's like the old school guys, the guys that are like master sergeants and shit now, are like, yeah, they remember when they were controlling air as a JFO before the JFO program was like, formalized. It was just like hey, I know how to do this. I've been taught how to do this kind of thing. And now I like that we're formalizing it, because just like going through the schoolhouse for you guys, you have to teach a base. Everyone has to kind of be on the same page. Like, these are your minimum expectations. From there, every situation is going to be different. So you have to make, different decisions and calls on the fly. But everyone needs to have that minimum, or that base expectation of what they're going to be sending. And then after that, it's up to the JTACs and the fleet to turn around and make those JFOs even better and prepare them to become the future JTACs. But the shitty reality is there's never enough air, and there's never enough assets to get JTAC fully trained and JFO fully trained. And that's why JFOs primarily are on DVTEs or doing just call for fire, not much air.
Yeah, you're supporting arms thing. But even with that, here's the one thing I've definitely seen is, like, when I came to Fort Sill, so I was a JTAC, still am. I came to Fort Sill, and my first question was, I just want to keep my currency.
Yeah.
And everyone told me, like, no, dog, there's nothing here. Like, we've already tried.
How is the base the king of battle? You know, the base with all the stuff, not impossible.
But yeah, so I'm getting told, like, oh, man, you can't really do that here. We don't really do that. And I'm like, I don't like that answer. So I'm going to keep looking. The most prolifically used close air support range is 20 minutes west.
That's what I was going to say. That's like an area where a lot of people train.
That's literally... so the VMFA, I think it's a 121 or 112. I think it's 112. The Cowboys, they fly to Dallas and use it all the time. Every single day, there is someone using that cast range. All you got to do is call the range control tower, be like, hey, are they doing cast? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, cool. Do they want a JTAC on the ground? And they're like, yeah, you can totally do that if you want. Because it's just a bunch of old retired pilots that sit in a tower. Like, this dude just runs the same doo-doo 9. Like, it's fish in a bucket. He doesn't care. He's just getting these guys the reps.
It's kind of like the dude. It's kind of like the dude you see at the cast trainer. Like, they're just kind of doing the same. They're on rinse and repeat of the same thing
every single day. So it's like, hey, can we go out there? And then 9 times out of 10, they get all excited. And they're like, oh yeah. Then we'll brief the pilots. Like, hey, we're gonna have real people out here. You're gonna do your, but you're gonna work with us. Like, we're a real guy, which is also cool because a lot of the T-38 trainers, like the trainer planes.
Yeah.
This is the first time that pilot has ever talked to somebody on the ground.
Yeah.
And like, this is a real dude giving you a real 9-line, and like, you really got to listen to me here.
Yeah, because they have a flight school there at Fort Sill, right? Doesn't the Air Force have a flight school in that area at least?
Yeah. Altus. I think they do a bunch of stuff up at Altus.
Yeah.
So that's like 40 minutes west. But then you got OKC, which has a whole bunch of Air Force big footprint up there too.
You probably just spoiled your like hidden gem of CAS on demand. You know, there's going to be people coming up and
we tried Master Guns Munoz. We tried. There's so much CAS, and the Red Leg War is a big culminating event that the Marine or the basic artillery officers groups for the Army, they do this big war, and there's CAS. Well, what it turns out to be is there's just like a JTAC, and he's like, hey, guys, this is CAS. And then there's no integration. They don't integrate fires at all. They do like 2 attacks, and they're like...
Is it a Marine JTAC or an Air Force JTAC?
It's usually... it's usually an Air Force JTAC. There's an Army JTAC here as well. My good buddy Greg, he actually went through school, so he's true blood Army with JTAC qual.
That's
cool. Yeah, very. And then we have a British Lieutenant Colonel Sergeant, who... That dude is just... gangster among gangsters.
I think I've worked with him before. That name sounds super familiar.
Yeah, dude, he is like one of my favorite lines was he was like someone was trying to tell him something about like the TAC SOP, like the MOTS SOP, and so the big standard operating procedures that the Marine Air Wing puts out, and he was trying to tell Lieutenant Colonel Sargent this, and Colonel Sargent was like, no, let me stop you there because I fucking wrote it, okay? I was like, dang,
got him.
Yeah, so that was. Like this dude,
I know that name. Was he a Royal Marine?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I think I worked with him at First Anglico then.
Yep, that's exactly where he was at. It was First Anglico. So he loves when the job's done right. That's what I'll say. Is like he's not a fan. He's a fan of the Marine Corps because of how we do it. He's not like, rah, Marines are the best, United States. Like, he doesn't do that. He picks the pieces that he likes, and he will just, all he wants is the job done right the first time. Mm-hmm. So that's why I really enjoyed working with him. And so usually it was him, but now we try to get Anglico to come out. We did it one time where it's like, hey, they're doing Red Leg War. There's a bunch of fixed-wing CAS, which I know is tough to get. Come on out here, and you can get like 10 goes of fixed-wing CAS. And we were trying to make that a rotating thing where it's like, you pay a couple ducks, you can come out here.
Yeah,
that only went one time.
It's kind of like guys go up to Idaho for what's that called? Fuck. I don't remember. There's an exercise up in Idaho. There's like a huge exercise up in Idaho, and occasionally Anglico will send a team up there to support that. And God, it's killing me that I can't remember it.
Is it Fort Hunter Liggett? Is that the right one?
No, Fort Hunter Liggett's up by kind of close to San Francisco or up in Northern California area, up that area. Not real close to San Francisco, but up in that area. But anyway, it's kind of the same thing. Like they would probably send somebody, but the timing's got to be right, And the thing, were you ever with Anglico? So where'd you go to? Where'd you go to first?
So I did the main stock thing. And I went straight to 10th Marines. I went to Division Fires.
Oh,
which,
dun, dun, dun.
Which we'll get into it later, which is another big reason. So why I'm changing, not I, right? Everything's a team. So why we're changing MASOC. And we're making huge drastic changes. But I went from calling for fire and like having a basic understanding of like find a target, kill it, to the Division Fires. Whereas, like, I didn't know anything. They're like, you're an FSCC now. And I'm like, what is that? I don't even know what that
What does that
acronym
even mean?
Yeah, and they're like, well, now you got to do this, and now you're T. Like, people would ask me, like, what unit are you in? And I'm like, 10th Marines. And they're like, yeah, no shit, but where at? And I'm like, the reg. Like, I didn't understand, like, where I was at, because they're like, you're going to go to an infantry company. And I'm like, I'm very much not in an infantry company at all right now.
Yeah, that's basically the worst place you could go as an 0861, as a new 0861 at least. Yeah,
and then, to no fault of the people around me, but I had, so I don't know if you know the name Rexa. He's been around.
Yep.
So Rexa was my corporal. And, like, he had just come back with, like, 1.8, I think. So that dude was just angry 24/7. That dude was hot.
Was that 2011?
No, so right when I checked in 2009 December.
Okay.
So Rexa would have just gotten back. It was Rexa, Dishinger.
Yep.
Those were my two corporals. Yeah, Dish was my corporal.
I need to have Dish come on. He's a good dude.
Yeah.
He's a solid dude. Him and Rexa came up for my going away. Like, and Rexa, I actually, when I was with 3.6 in 2000, the reason I asked if that was in 2011 is when I was with 3.6, I can't remember who we ripped with. He was the JTAC at FOB Marja. And I remember him. I asked him to come on the show, but I don't think he really wants to. He doesn't want to tell us stories, but he's got some pretty wild stories.
Dude, Rexa not telling stories, that's all that dude does.
I know. He's a solid dude like that. He had a wicked control. I'm not going to talk about it because it's his story. But he had a wicked control on video that he showed us when we first got there, and I was like, dude, that's fucking crazy. If he ever comes on the show, we'll talk about it there. But anyway, so I know those dudes.
Yeah, so I had Rexa and Rexa is really the one that wasn't hazing, but he definitely made me learn CI. Like, he was the only one that really jumped in and, like, took charge of me as a PFC and was like, lead me to do shit. I remember I couldn't figure out how to do a CAD. And he was like, we're just going the fuck outside. And you're just going to unload the quad-con. So I'm just, like, by myself carrying all this huge shit out and, like, trying to spit off a CAD. And as soon as I mess up, he's like, good, put it the fuck back in. So it's like hot, like North Carolina heat. I'm like, dude, this fucking sucks. But I did it so many times over like an hour where like CAD was in my sleep. Like I was literally dreaming about how to do a CAD.
Yeah.
And I never had to do that shit. I never unloaded the quad-con again. And I'm like, holy shit, it worked. Like a little bit of lactic acid, really helps you learn.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But I also had like a handful of lap movers. Again, no fault of their own, but you can't really like expect. Like one of my really, really good friends, Sergeant Martin at the time. Martin, you may have gone through school with him, Roy Martin.
No.
He was a lap mover, infantry guy. He just didn't know fire support. Like he couldn't teach me anything because he didn't know. But he was an assaultman, so he could tell me all about that shit, which is cool. But that was like this huge push where it was like 90K and like everyone was a lap mover and like no one could really tell me what my fucking job was. Like at the division, like what do I do? And I just like took out trash and didn't do anything.
Well, it sucks as a new guy because as the new guy, you're basically there to do all the bullshit that nobody else wants to do. At the same time, you're supposed to be learning your job. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's the people that judge their entire like. I wish more people would get to the end of their 4 years, their first 4 years, and really consider re-enlisting because the second 4 years is nothing like the first 4 years.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Figure it out.
Which is exactly as long as you're not an asshole. Yeah, as long as you're not an asshole and you know what the hell you're doing.
So that's what that was the thing my dad always told me. He's like, hey, look, your first do 8 flat out. He's like, you're gonna have to do 8 anyway, right? Because once you get out, you still got a little bit of reserve time or whatnot. So like, just do 8. Your first 4 are gonna suck. They're gonna be terrible. But once you get to that next 4, you're going to start getting leadership, you're going to have some responsibility, and it's going to be totally different. And I was like, all right, Dad, I'll do 8. And, like, that's the only reason why I stayed in doing 8. And he was absolutely right. You're right. The first 4 were terrible. You just get every single day you wake up, like, who's going to yell at me today?
And, it's not even really the first 4, honestly. It's like the first 2 maybe 3. Yeah, it's like that is once you become like a more senior lance corporal or a corporal and you become like a dependable part of your unit, then like life's not bad. But if you refuse to learn your job or you're just an asshole, then life's going to suck for 4 years. Like just do your fucking job.
Nail that 6 out, gets hammered. But yeah, if you start making your team some money, right? You go out, you start, this guy's dependable. This guy can be trusted. Like, it's completely, even the dudes that showed promise early in, when I was running 311, the dudes that showed promise, they were treated differently. Like, if you weren't a shithead, like, yeah, you're both PFCs, but you have a terrible attitude, and this kid's always doing shit. Like, this kid's always helping us out. So, yeah, we're going to hook this kid up and, like, hey, you're going on this field op and be ready to deploy. You are a shithead. Get in the armory. Like, like that's just how shit works. And that's what I tell these
be an
kids
asshole
now.
and you're going to get treated like an asshole.
Yeah, I tell the ASOT kids all the time, like, everything is a competition. When I say, give me 2 people, like, every hand should be up. Yes, you're going to have to sweep. You're going to have to mop. You're going to have to do, but I'm going to constantly see the same people, and I'm going to be like, hey, this kid's good. This kid just does whatever we tell him to do immediately. Let's get this kid a trip. And they do not understand that.
Nobody wants to do, nobody wants to do the menial task. You know what I'm saying? Like, people join the Marine Corps to go to war, do something crazy. And then it's like, hey, man, welcome to the Marine Corps. You're going to go fucking mop that bathroom and let me find some shit in the toilet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
let me find a pube on the urinal.
Clean the whole goddamn... Yeah. And it's like, they're like, what the hell is this? This isn't the Marine Corps. And it's like, they don't understand that this is like, you're at the very beginning. And it's just, it's not like that. It's like that in every career, but not to the extreme like the Marine Corps is. Like, the Marine Corps can fuck with you all the time. Every other career, like, you're the new guy and you still got to do all the shitty tasks until there's another new guy underneath you that can
take out the trash, fill up the coffee pot, make sure you wipe down the sink for everybody uses. Like, yeah, cool. Like, that doesn't mean anything. But us, it's a little ridiculous. But it's because they're not making us any money yet, And we're trying to see, like, we're trying to instill in these kids, do the right thing right the first time.
Yeah,
but
how long?
So
how long were you at 10th Marine Regiment, and what were you like the box operator?
No, so I actually my first field op was Bragg, which was terrible.
Oh, fucking Bragg!
A month-long Bragg, a month-long camping trip where I just got yelled at every day. It was, and I didn't even have a rifle because there weren't enough rifles. So everywhere I went, people would just scream at me, "Where's your rifle at?" And I'm like, "Bro, I don't have one." No bullshit. And I'm like, "Bro, seriously, I seriously do not have a PFC, and I seriously do not have a rifle. Please stop heckling me." Every day. But I deployed with the 2nd Marine Division from 2011 to 2012. So I did the year-long trip from, it was like February 11 to March of 12. So I did the year thing, and I was the division, like, box operator, but like division and fires NCO. Like, I was just a little booter kid that sat there, and at the division level in Leatherneck for a year.
You would have processed my fire missions then in 2011.
Absolutely. So I actually was thinking about this. I want to see if you remember a story. Do you remember when someone typed penis in the fires window, the division fires window? Does that ring any bells?
No.
No?
No.
Well, that was me.
You're like, let's see what happens.
August, September. That was September 1st. September 1st, 2011. The day that will live in infamy.
I would have been there. Did you get in trouble for that?
Kind of.
Yeah.
So there's literally like the only standout thing that happened. Like, if you want to talk about just Groundhog Day.
That's a standout thing from your deployment.
Dude, well, that's the thing. Like, it was Leatherneck. You just remember the cans with like the lights and those like J Vegas.
Yeah,
they called it. Like, that's what I lived in.
Oh,
I lived in the super sweet cans. Yeah.
Did you live in the ones that were like stacked up? They were like multi-story.
I was a second floor kid.
What was the cool spot to hang out when you weren't working? Where's the place to be? I know Green Bean Coffee, but.
That's all I did. I did the same shit every day for 365 days in a row. Well, granted, like the 10-day period that they sent us back because you get your little R&R thing.
You never went over on the Bastion side and went to like the little restaurants and like the little foreign.
Never had time because I worked. I worked from noon, so they lined our ATO day up, which is bullshit because the internet actually kicked on at like midnight, so that's why we were like, oh, you get too much like real nipper internet at night. This is bullshit. Facebook is locked up during the daytime. So like, all right, Ty, we'll change our shifts. So now we started coming in at noon. So from noon to midnight, I would work, and it was like to the minute I could tell you exactly where I was going to be every single minute. And I also didn't have like a buddy to go with because it was just 3 of us. So the can was always empty. I just had a room to myself for 12 hours a day. So I didn't have anybody, and I didn't have any friends. Like, it was just the fires guy. Everyone else in the fucking COC was just a boner. Like, I literally did not talk to anybody in this giant building except for my staff sergeant and my lieutenant that I had shift with.
So as the fires guy at Leatherneck, so for those that don't understand what we're talking about, you have in the hierarchy of fire support, you have your forward observer, which is like on the ground attached to like a patrol out walking around or whatever. And then you have like your fires chief who works back at the main battalion base for the unit that the forward observer works for, right? So he sends a fire mission back. That fires chief takes that fire mission, or he can produce it himself, which is what always happened with me. I don't think any of my scouts ever got a fire mission off. They always just went on patrol. It was easier to do it from the COC.
Yeah.
So then the fires chief at the battalion gets a fire mission, and he processes it up. And what you're talking about is on Merc chat or whatever chat program you use. we would be sending the fire mission digitally up to different assets so everyone can start prepping for it. And then
it's literally just AIM chat.
And you were the next level up, so you guys gave approval for missions like HIMARS up until we received the battalion level HIMARS approval, and then
which we were pumped about because we were like, "Fuck yeah, these dudes are proving at their level." Like that was a huge deal for us at the division.
I was super pumped. I was like, dude, I didn't think they were going to let us have it but my argument was like, you guys allow the battalions to approve artillery, traditional artillery, unguided, but you won't let them approve their guided munitions. Like that's retarded. Like that doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, the issue with that is because when you start shooting rockets that high, like you're messing with like commercial airspace and shit. So unless you guys have the assets and the ability to talk in like, hey, is there an airliner up there? Because some of those rockets went like astronomically high, like ungodly high. So we were contacting like Kabul Air Center and all sorts of folk to make sure, like, hey, make sure you don't have anybody up here.
Yeah, I knew they flew up to like 60 or 70,000 feet, but that's why you guys had approval over the airspace over like the goalpost is what it was called. For those that don't know, it was called a goalpost because if you look at it on a 3D map, it looks like a big round circle around the launcher, and it's so the rocket can fly up, and it looks like a line that goes across, and then where the rocket comes down, it forms like a goalpost. But the actual mission itself, like there was no need. I never thought there was a need for the division to have approval on it unless it was something crazy.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of that would drive that is just the KA or the Kabul Air Center would talk directly to, because we had the assets, we had the bajillion antennas. So unless you guys were talking directly to them and they could say, hey, yeah, we don't have anybody up there, like all the approval was still pending. Like you couldn't shoot until you had that airspace was clear. Mm-hmm. So once Kabul or whoever, all the cats were out of the way, then that came down like, yep, you're approved, you're good.
Yeah.
But the approval rested on the fact that once all that airspace was cleared and you were hot, that was the check in the box. Like, is the goalpost hot? Yes. All right, sweet.
Yeah, that was always the struggle too. That was our longest wait time, was waiting on the goalpost to be hot so that we knew the airspace was clear and they could launch.
Yeah, so the thing with Merc Chat too was we kept all the windows open. So they would always yell at us like, why is the division inside the battalion fires window? So I would just like change my name to be like battalion fires clerk. So when something was put in there, like I could see that, and as soon as it would hit, and I would get my shit ready, and then I would see it hit the regiment, and then my shit was already in my Merc window, like ready to go. And as soon as it populated my window, boom, I would hit submit. So, and we had little bells and dings and whistles and stuff. So, like, based off of just noise, I knew what it was. If it was a hot wall, if it was a goalpost, like whatever airspace measure they needed, I knew based off of sound that I set up, which they thought was like groundbreaking. Like, you could just be passed out in your chair, and you're like, ding, like goalpost.
Let's do this.
Right back in.
Let's go time.
Yep. But that was it, and like I would just watch windows all day.
Who was the most active battalion while you were there?
3-4.
Really?
There was they had the smallest battle space, but there was always something going on in 3-4.
Where were they at the time?
Sasangin. So they had like this tiny little block. I remember it because like I just remember staring at the entire map of RC Southwest. Like that's just like burned in my brain. It was like, and it wasn't even a map. It was just the little overlay outline, like a little graphic, and it had everyone's battle space. But yeah, 3-4 is the first one that pops out, and Recon was too. Second Recon, because they had like a little battle space. They were battle space owners at one point.
Oh yeah, they were up in Northern Sangin. They were up at like PB Alcatraz and stuff like that.
Yeah, Alcatraz. Yeah,
my buddy
had all that.
I got my buddy Matt Gay was a mechanic, and he I want him to come on the show. I've talked to him. He said he's going to. I need to link back up with him, but he was actually they made him a wrecker operator. And then he got attached to the Recon. He was with Recon, and then they put him with the guys that went up, that convoyed up, and like, all right, this is where we're building PB Alcatraz. Like, dig your fighting hole and let's start. Like, so he was there when they did all of that, and I want to have him on so he can talk about what it's like, what it's like to be like a support guy, but get put in a position like that, because they were under fire a lot there, and they were dropping shit constantly. Like I was fortunate enough to see him in Kyrgyzstan. He was on his way out, and I was on my way in. And I was like, dude, what's up, man? And you could tell he would just like came out of it. Like he was just like, dude, fuck, man, that place was crazy. Yeah. And he was talking about some of the strikes they did on the compounds below, because PB Alcatraz sits up on a hill. So
Right. Yeah.
they were saying that the little village and shit that they were always taking fire from below them, like at one point it got real bad and they ended up like decimating like half that village, like buildings and stuff because of the, they were just trying to overrun them up there, which is fucking crazy. So it doesn't surprise me you say that. I know 3-2 was really busy there as well.
I'm trying to remember 3-2. I'm just trying to remember like what were the names? Like you always just see because each unit had their own set of goalposts, and like each unit. So like you had like Masquerade, like was the name for like you knew 3-4, whatever that battle space was. Masquerade was like the brevity term for 3-4's goalposts. So you had like Masquerade 1 through 8, and then you had Massacre, which was very confusing because you'd say Masquerade or Massacre 8, and like, what are you talking about? Like, which one do I need to activate right now?
I think mine with 3-6 was just like Charlie 1, Charlie 2, Charlie 3.
Yeah, so we did that too, but so it was. I'm trying to remember. Oh, it was because the battery, the HIMARS battery, we named it after them. So we had Mike battery, and that's why they're all named. We had Moggy, Massacre, Masquerade, stuff like that.
Our HIMARS,
and then it was like
Klondike. We had Klondike Kilo.
Yeah, Klondike was up there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what else.
But
yeah, we used to.
3-2 was in Musakela. 3-2 was in Musakela, so they were pretty.
I remember, or was that 1-8? I'm trying to remember that someone had a huge chunk. I think it was 1-8 when I like the first part when I was there. I just remember 1-8. I remember RCT.
Well, you would have been there.
I was there for like everybody.
Multiple units to have come through each battle
I was
space.
there for like everybody, and then like RCT. I think it was like RCT 1 was there for a really long time. Like right when I got there, and they ripped out with 7.
So
and like that shit was confusing. I don't remember.
Having been on a big base the entire deployment, I kind of know what that's like. TQ is nowhere near the size or
dude Leatherneck was massive.
thing. Like there was no restaurants on TQ. Like there was a little shitty PX that had 3-month-old magazines and like 2XL shirts and like extra
White
small
socks.
shorts. That's like all they had. You're like, what the fuck? But you'd still go there because you had nothing else to do but walk around that thing. Yeah. So what was it? What was your kind of like? I don't know. Were you satisfied with your war? I guess we'll call it that. Were you satisfied with what you did? Or did you come back and think like that? This isn't what I thought it'd be like.
No, it definitely was not what I thought it was going to be like. Again, I thought like going to Afghanistan, we're getting in gunfights every day, and I'm like, when do I do the training? Like my PTP was literally sitting in a building in division doing the exact same thing.
You're like, when am I putting out a fire? Damn.
Yeah, damn it.
Still waiting on this fire.
Fucking fires. So I just remember sitting in the computer lab, like the PTP was literally it was COC operations. I didn't know why I was there. I didn't know what I was supposed to do, and I literally sat there for like 3 months. We did 24-hour ops, which was from like 8 to 8, and then you went home, and then they reset the game clock at 8 in the morning. So it's not 8 in the morning; it's really like 23 at night.
I've done that exercise. I remember doing that.
It was really fucking stupid.
It is stupid.
I didn't know, but like there was no fires involvement. Like fires at every level is the most kinetic group in the thing. Like division fires, like Division we were always doing something in our corner. Like we had our own little corner, and we were always like, it was either you were like about to pass out from boredom, or you were sprinting through and like coordinating multiple rockets. Everyone else was just taking reports and passing them to the next echelon.
Yeah.
Like, oh, here's a Salta report from the battalion. Thanks, regiment. Here, division. There you go, MEF. Like they didn't do anything, but us, we're actively clearing airspace. I'm like getting on radios, like telling people, like telling the battery, like y'all need to go the fuck out there right now because like their connection would be up and down. So you'd call them, hit them on the radio, like go out to the firing point, like this is the direction you need to be facing. And like we were always doing something, but like that was such a Groundhog Day thing. Like it was to the point where every minute of every day I was in the exact same spot.
Yeah.
Like I would wake up, I would go to the shower trailer, I would shave. Like the routine was, I used to count steps. Like I'd be plus or minus one or two steps, like from where I lived to where I worked. Like every single day was exactly the same, except for like maybe 2 or 3. Like I did a cool, I thought was neat, was a flyer drop. So we got like the Osprey, loaded a bunch of flyers in a trash bag, like put some 550 cord on it, flew over Marja, and just like threw a trash bag out the back. So
really?
That was neat. Huh. Yeah, so that was cool. That was like one cool thing I did. But other than that, you just didn't have the personnel, and I was always asking, like, can I go do something else? And they're like, no, because you're the only guy that we have. Mm-hmm. You're the only, like, you have the fires lieutenant, so he's doing his shit, and plus you got tasked with, like, IO, which, like, every fires officer does. Every dude gets hit with IO. And then we had the staff sergeant, so those two would be, like, shift changing back and forth, and then you'd have to have it's a two-man deal. You'd have to have a second guy there.
Who is the staff sergeant you were there with?
Staff sergeant Grant.
Graham?
Grant, Grant.
Oh, I don't think I know him.
He was 310. So we had Grant, and then we had Pope. I don't know if you know Staff Sergeant Pope.
Oh, that name sounds real familiar.
Bro.
So I was at 210, but I didn't really know too many people from the other like 310 and 110. One, because I was a lap mover, and two, I showed up and immediately like field op, schoolhouse, deployment. You know, it was like I was busy.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I had Grant. So Grant was one of the shift guys, and then it was Staff Sergeant Pope was the other guy, and I tried to fight him in country. Like, I was so sick of that dude. I couldn't stand that dude. He's actually so there was a day I came in for shift change. I usually came in like an hour early. That way I could just like sit and like drink coffee and bullshit with like my buddy John. Like he was my roommate. Where like we lived together, but I never saw the dude except for like an hour on shift and an hour off shift.
Yeah.
So I would just sit there and bullshit with him. Well, I came in one day and it was like the world was on fire. Like fires was yelling. Like everyone's yelling the COC. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And they're like, Second Recon's under attack. Like they're pinned down and they're getting overrun right now. And I'm like, oh shit. And then the general, so it was actually General Craparata, he was on deck and like he was in the COC, like walking around and like talking to people, proving shit. And so Piss Off is the program that mensurates our grids. And in order to shoot a grid, you have to use this program to get a no shit perfect 10-digit grid. In each computer, we had our own little Piss Off computer. And we had to do 2 fire missions, and like I come down, and like my buddy Josh is like out for some reason, like he was doing something else. So it's like me and the staff sergeant, and the lieutenant was like getting yelled at for crazy shit. So we have these 2 missions that need to get approval. And I remember I was like, Staff Sergeant, do the one. And like I get the other grid, I start to input it. You got to do all this fancy shit to display to the commander like a picture.
Yeah.
Like he's gonna be satisfied with. Like you got to sell that. You have to be a salesman. You got to sell this shit to the general, who's now I'm a Lance Corporal.
And the lawyer and the JAG that's there.
Yeah, and the lawyer standing right there, and that dude is sweating every time we're shooting rockets because there was one time we hit a bunch of kids and we didn't mean to, but the kid just happened to run out. Like, we have it on Kill TV. We got the live feed up from the Predator. Like, you see the dudes on a little firing position, like popping shots around the wall. We shoot a HIMARS rocket at it, and then you see a kid run out with, like, ammo. And the judge is like, he's like, abort it, abort! And we're like, nah, dude, that bitch is going.
Dude, rockets in the air, man. You can't stop it.
Dude, he's like, abort! He's like, cancel the mission. And we're like, nah, dog, that is going. And it's like a 2-minute time of flight from Leatherneck to where that was hit. And I just remember, like, we're all watching this video, and it was like, it sucks to watch, but... what am I going to do here?
It's war, dude. That sucks.
It sucks because I know that kid did not know anything. He does not know what's going on.
He's just running ammo, but he doesn't know why. He doesn't know why he's doing
it. The crate's bigger than he is. He's doing like the little kid waddle and his little flip-flops to the dad, dumps it, and as soon as the kid gets next to the dude shooting on the wall, just smoke. And we're like,
God
shouldn't have been standing there.
Was there an investigation or anything for that?
I don't know anything about that.
I mean, if he was carrying ammo, they're going to look at it and go that he was a legitimate target. It's unfortunate. Yeah. It's an unfortunate it's an unfortunate reality of war, especially third world countries. They have no problem having kids be ammo runners, spotters.
Absolutely. Well, I remember reading this story, like there's a Gatorade drop in the middle of a firefight. So there's like a pallet of Gatorade, and like these dudes sending their kids out to get this Gatorade in the middle of a huge firefight. And then I'm like, dude, that's fucking crazy. And they're like, actually, it's a win-win because either the kids come back with Gatorade or that's one less mouth to feed.
Oh, my God, dude.
I'm like, dang, that's heavy.
That's horrible.
I'm like, dude.
Yeah, it's, we had these, I remember these one guys, we tracked them. We had an HVT, a high-value target. I think it was 2 of them. And I think they knew we were watching them, or they weren't sure, but they would keep this group of kids around them. Like they kept like, come with us, and like we were watching them with the PGSS blimp, and they've got this little gaggle of kids that are like surrounding the whole time, and they're carrying rifles, and then they started taking shots at some of our dudes, and then they stopped. And then again, we can't do anything because we're not going to strike these 2 dudes with all these kids there.
Yeah, they're playing the game.
As soon as those kids were outside of the CDE ring, it was like, dude. As soon as they got it out, it was like the JTAC was like cleared hot, and then just smoked them. And I was like, fuck those dudes, man. Like
they're playing the game, man. That's war, and that's them playing the game to their advantage. Just the same way that anybody else would do it. And it sucks, and it's a terrible.
Well, no, not anybody else. Like we wouldn't do anything like that.
Oh, no, not like that. I'm saying I meant play the game. I'm not holding up kids. I'm going straight up with somebody. I'm not gaggling kids. But I'm saying like if I know that the enemy has some rules, I'm going to bend those rules to my advantage.
Oh yeah, Yeah, and that's what they do. Like, we're the only one that's trying to play
Yeah.
with some semblance of rules on the battlefield. Like, people will argue that we don't follow our own rules sometimes, but, whatever.
There's so many rules.
There's so... I went through the whole process, like what the whole process looks like in country one time on one of the other podcasts, just because I don't think people understand, like people out in the real world. All right, people don't understand. Like, I hear Joe Rogan talk about airstrikes on his show sometimes, and he's like, yeah, some statistic says it's like 95% civilians are getting killed by these drones. And I'm like, okay, well, one, I think that statistic probably means they're calling anyone that wasn't the HVT, the actual target, a civilian, although half these dudes that are standing around them are like bodyguards and fighters and shit like that. They're not civilians. And they think, and people think we're just slinging Hellfire missiles, like it's cool. And they don't realize the targeting process, the actual like legitimate, unless it's all expedited if someone's under fire, like they're in a troops in contact situation, a tick. All of that's expedited because dudes are either about to get killed or have gotten killed or shot or whatever.
That still takes such a long time sometimes.
It takes too long. Yeah, it takes too long. I had some guys, I think the quickest I ever got a fire mission off was my first or second one. I can't remember. It was a HIMARS mission. You might remember it. I called in the HIMARS with what's that little satellite push to talk radio?
DAMA radio? The DAMA?
Is that what it was called?
Yeah, the little DAMA handset thing.
Yeah.
That's what we call the DAMA radio. It had a button on it.
I called Leatherneck to open up the I called Dwyer to open up the goalpost, and then I called Leatherneck for the launchers, or vice versa. It might have been vice versa, whatever. And I did it all over that little radio. And that was the quickest. I got 10 minutes from the oh shit, there's a guy with placing an IED to impact. That was the quickest strike I had. I think,
and that's really fast because our goal was our service was airspace clear in under 8 minutes. So that was our big thing. It was like from the second you said I need this shot clear the airspace to the time when we started coordinating and telling everyone to get out of the way. 8 minutes was like our. If it was over 8, I think we got down to like 6 minutes and 15 seconds was like our solid average, which, we're getting better. Our processes were getting a lot better, but it's still like that takes forever. But like that one day with the double recon, that shit sucked because, I'm trying to process a piss off thing right now. And it's kind of intricate. You got to do it right the first time, but now you're like in a stress filled thing. Like you hear people yelling and hollering and you're like, oh shit, please be the right grid.
Yeah, and this isn't training. This is like there could be adverse effects if you fuck this up.
Yeah, like the grid you just sent me is where that rocket's going. So I hope you got it right the first time. So
yeah,
like, it's coming, bud. So I remember I did the piss off for the first grid, and I remember the staff sergeant was supposed to be doing the second one, and the general is literally his thigh is on my shoulder as I'm typing this shit up, and then he leans over and goes, "All right, staff sergeant, what do we got?" And I'm done, and I'm looking at him, and he's twisting a fucking metal, a plastic spoon. He's like, I don't know, sir. I don't know. He's like, the computers are always shutting down, sir. Like, I don't know. And I'm like, this dude hasn't done a single fucking thing right now. And in my head, I'm like, bro, rockets need to be going like yesterday. These dudes are like getting murked out, right? I'm seeing like the reports, I'm reading the command lines, and I'm seeing like one casualty, like unable to move. I'm like, fuck, dude. So I'm like, sir, if you look right here, I have one of the grids. So I start briefing him up on it, and I'm like, sir, I apologize. Just give me like 30 seconds, and I can get the other one up. So I spin up the second one. Meanwhile, this fucking dude is just like, he's talking about, he's like, oh, this is a flexible spoon. If you cut this up, you can make it like a key or some shit. And I'm like, bro, what the, I'm a Lance. So I'm like, what the fuck is this? This was a 6-1? Yeah. I'll name drop the shit because I can't stand this cat. But I was a Lance, and I get the second grid up, and I'm like, here, sir, range rings, this, that, the third, here's everything, are we good? And he goes, Lance Corporal, good, approved. I'm like, tight. Like, I just got approval from the dude's mouth, 3 feet from the general. So I'm like, hey, approved. I start smashing everything. And it's like a sprint. So everything we did in country was a sprint. You just did 99% boredom, and then it was like, fuck, shit's gone downhill. So you gotta do everything right the first time. You don't have time to mess up. So we hit the sprint airspace, rockets go out, we're kind of sitting there waiting. I don't think we watched the feed on it. And we're sitting there, we're waiting, and then they're like, all right, troops able to maneuver, everything's cool, cancel the goalpost, life's good. And I just remember I was sitting there, I was fucking hot. I was hot. Because my whole thing is I don't know who's on the other end, but that boy needs help yesterday, and I would want someone to help me if I'm in that situation. And I don't remember what he said, but he said something, and I was just like, bro, fuck you. And he's like, what'd you say? And I was like, fuck you. Like, I was going on. Like, it's a COC. Like, there's a division level COC. It's a lot of folk. And I'm a Lance Corporal. And he was like, what'd you say? I'm like, you fucking heard me? And then he's like, you want to take this outside? So, like, I throw my chair. I'm like, come on, motherfucker, let's go. Like, I'm just like an angry Lance Corporal 19-year-old. Like, I will beat the brakes off this dude. So I walk outside. A couple minutes later, like, someone else comes out. And they're like, hey, man, I know you're out here to do something, but I can't he goes, the colonel, our FET colonel, our like the dude that ran us, the fires group, he's like, the colonel needs to see you. And I'm like, fuck, man, because I know I'm getting yelled at because I just try to fight this dude, like, outside. I was all about it. So I go to the colonel, and the colonel's like, look, I know shit got heavy. I know you did your job. I appreciate it, but I cannot have a Lance Corporal trying to fight a staff sergeant in the division COC. And I'm like, you're right, sir. I'm sorry. That was very unprofessional of me. And he goes, don't worry. I'm handling it. And that dude was gone like the next week, like gone back to like the States. Like,
good, man, because that's legitimate. That's like, again, that's not training. That's real life. Like, people's lives are depending on you doing a good job. Not just the people that you're supporting, but like the civilians in the area too. Like, if you fuck up and give them the wrong grid and hit a compound you're not supposed to, that sucks. You know, that obviously you could kill people. Like, shit could happen.
And the other thing, like, I learned was, like, the general gave me the general's buying this shit. Like, his stamp is on this. Yeah. So if this goes sour, like, that's him, bud. Like, he just literally, like, gave approval to a 19-year-old kid that's, like, about to send 2 rockets, dude, in a firefight.
It's so crazy the amount of responsibility that is that people just disregard because it seems like just a casual, normal event for us as fire supportmen. But as a 19-year-old kid, you are processing information to get such an exact grid that you can strike a target to help save people that are being shot at actively at that moment, you know?
Yeah.
And to look like just the amount of pressure on a 19-year-old kid that is compared to, like, I'm in my own mind, I'm seeing the kids I'm going to SDSU with right now and how some of them complain about the shit that they have to do. And I'm like, dude, like... And you know, there are 2 different worlds, obviously, and we choose our own paths and whatnot. But it's like, I don't know, man. That's pretty heavy, dude. And good on you for like pushing the mission through. And fuck that dude, man. I don't know who he is. I don't know if I've met him or not. But
I straight up tried to, like, he was just, again, you know, and I'll say the same shit to him, man. We can still square up. I'm still like mad at this dude, but he was just. It was just that guy that you just did not. He was going to get somebody hurt. We all know those people in our groups where it's like, that dude's going to get somebody hurt one day.
It's at 10%, man.
Yeah, and that's what it was. And I was like, bro, man, how are you still here?
Our job is to provide support to the guy on the ground, to the infantry guy at the tip of the spear. Like, they need help. We're there, you know, we're the king of battle. You know, that's why people say that, you know, artillery is the king of battle and stuff like that, because all weather, all of the time, support's going to be there. Like, if you call me, I'm going to fucking support you. And some shit like that, that's fucked up, man. Like, if that's, I'm not saying what, because I wasn't there and I don't, you know, every side has 2 stories, but if it's like you're saying, that's fucked up. And
and I agree. Like, again, that's completely how I saw it through, like, again, I think I was 20, because it was 2011. Or 2000, it was 2011, so I was actually 20. But...
Either way, that's still like
either way you cut that, it's still a young kid sending a lot of hate like a direction or assisting in the process of.
You can't buy a beer, but you can process a fire mission that's going to kill.
Yeah, we can send all sorts of, you know, stuff your way. I don't know, man, but you know, that's what I try to tell these kids. And I honestly today, when you tell kids, like, there's kids in this Mesa again. So I run the schoolhouse, which is so I'm supposed to, as a course chief, I'm not supposed to even see kids. I'm supposed to just be straight up admin.
Yeah,
like, do the rosters, do this, make sure the bus is there on time, and, like, go to the gym. Like, that's supposed to be my only responsibilities.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, for the majority of my time, we didn't have enough people. So we were super short-handed, and it was me and one of my sergeants. So Nick and Nick's been here for, like, 3.5 years, and he's just been grinding this shit out. Like, I feel genuinely bad for this dude, because it is so terrible. Like, no break for this cat. But it was just been me and him working it, you know, and it is, like, mind-numbingly tough. And everybody says, like, oh, it's Fort Sill, bro. I can totally teach grunts, like, how to JFO. I'm like, yeah, dude, me too. Like, I've taught people ad hoc primers, and, like, they've been successful. It is completely fucking different when you teach a 18 to 19-year-old a skill set that they don't have any baseline for.
Yeah.
Like, there is no baseline. And I'm like, it is straight. And again, I'll say it to everybody, this shit is not easy. Like, everyone thinks, oh, I could totally do that. Yeah, me too. That's what I thought. I was like, fuck, I'm coming to Fort Sill, teach a bunch of boots. This is tight. No, it is so much harder. And like, you have to be able to speak like civilian 19-year-old. And you have to try to like figure, like, my generation, I was like in this sweet gap, like we were talking about before, where it's like, I came home when the streetlights came on, but I was also like the first dude with a smartphone. Like in 2009 or like 2010, I was like the first dude with like a flip phone that had like a keyboard and I can get on the internet.
You're like, check this out, the internet on my phone.
And honestly, my phone got straight took. Like, they took my phone because they're like, can you get on porn with that? And I was like, yes. I'm like, give me your fucking phone. And like, I didn't see my phone for like a couple days because my phone would just disappear.
Yes. All technologies go to porn at some point.
Yeah, and they're just like, Rob, take your phone. I'm like, I Sergeant. Like, I didn't have an answer here. But, I grew up in that age where, like, I wasn't relying on a phone. Now, today, like, that's it. Like, the digital age, and that's what we're calling it now. And there's a huge push in the schoolhouse to get away from the industrial age of teaching, stadium seating. I tell you PowerPoint, you take notes, you do tests, you graduate. We're getting away from that because what we've seen is, like, kids don't learn that way. So it's like, okay, that's the only way I've been raised. So how do we teach these kids? So there's a big push, and they're calling it the learning modernization. And they're saying, get away from stadium seating. Basically, we've been given like this blank sheet to just get weird, and like, how can you teach these kids better? So that's where we're like, we don't do stadium seating anymore. We do fist tables. So there's 5 groups, and there's 6 kids in each group to simulate a fist. Mm-hmm. So we have like little fist leaders. We're trying to give these kids responsibility right out the gate. Like, you're in charge to make sure like you mop up your area. Like,
real quick for those that don't know, FIST is a fire support team. So it's a group of guys working together on a fire mission.
Yeah, so that's what we're trying to instill early, is because like, I didn't know what a fist was. Like, I remember coming to like, oh, they're going to the fist. I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
So I really think I'm like one of the dumbest people when I first came in. So I literally have the MESOC class on my computer right now that I'm redoing to be better, to convey the message. Like, right now it talks about brevity words. The word over means this. The word out means that. Like, that's what I'm trying to break down to these kids, instead of, this is how you do a radio check, now do it. Oh, you fucked it up. Like, you fucking stupid.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, I've never touched a radio in my fucking life.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm trying to do, is like, what didn't I know? And I'm trying to break that down. And so everything is getting retouched. And for the 6-1 community, Coronado is going away, the follow-on school. The Naval Gunfire School is no mo. We're about to kick off our last class that's going. So that's going to start.
That's so depressing, man. Guys don't get a free trip to San Diego and Coronado.
I heard they had that shit locked down, though. Like, you couldn't leave the island. You couldn't do nothing fun. That's what I heard. Huh. When I was there, it was awesome, because it was like, show up to class at 8. I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah, no, it was a pretty cool. I mean, well, it wasn't that easy. We still had to come in and do PT with the instructors and stuff, but coming in as a lap mover, it was cool to have a little bit of freedom again. I mean, Fort Sill again as a lap mover, it wasn't like we were out there with the boots marching to chow and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But back to, so you came back from Afghanistan and you were at 10th Marine Regiment. And you go out to, where'd you go after that? What was the next step?
So I did the whole, the year-long Afghan thing. It was absolutely terrible, so boring. Like, 2011 does not exist in my brain. So I PCA to 110, and that's the first time where, like, I'm in a fist, and I'm a corporal. And all I know is, like, DIG, which is fortunate for me, is, like, DIG, but I've never had a team underneath me. Like, I've had, like, my buddies that, like, we were Lance Corporals together in Division FSCC, but, like, I was never in a leadership position, because by that time it was like we all knew what to do. Like, hey, Ken do this, Eddie do that, Josh do this. Like, we're good. Okay, cool. But when I go to 110, they're like, you're a corporal, here's your team. And I'm like, I don't know anything about the Hill at all. Like, I'm so lost. But fortunately, it was a kind of a stepping stone, because they focused a lot on DIG and like the old strike link, the old processing computer thing. So I knew a lot about that. Like, I was just like the FATED's kid, the
sucks to be the FATED's guy.
Yeah, but I was that dude, and my thing, my dad, same thing, being raised, it was, even if you don't like it, be the best you can at it.
Yeah.
It's going to stop. So that was me. It was, I'm just going to get really good at a FATED. Like, I can't stand the stupid computer. It doesn't work, but I'm going to be the guy that people look to. Like, that's all I want to do, is like someone to be proud of me. Like, oh man, this guy figured it out.
You know what you're doing. That's what we can appreciate that.
This guy's not completely retarded, trying to make the family name, live up to what it has been for a while now. And like, that's what I do every day is like, don't look like a doofus. Don't look like a doofus. Like that's all that's how I get my day to day. It's like, just don't look stupid.
Seems like good advice.
Yeah. So I do the 110 thing, and I ended up doing a UDP to Oki, which I think everyone has to do at least one.
Who was out at 110 with you? What year was this?
This was 2012. Yeah, because I just got back in March, and then I left like October of 12, and then into 13 I came back.
Okay.
I don't remember. I know Masson at La Chapelle was out there. He was gunning.
Okay.
Yeah, Chappie was out there. I swear I thought he hated me for the longest time. I was like, dude, I'm sorry. Like,
I've never really interacted with him much, but I know who he is. I've met him before.
Yeah, but the UDP was fun because like having that top side, like understanding, like I was in the division, like I knew how shit worked at the top. So people would be like, oh man, this is fucking, like, why are we down here doing this tactical stuff? Like, oh, this is stupid. I'm like, actually, it's not stupid. This is what you're doing, and these are the processes that play into it.
Everybody hates hire, and part of that is because they don't know the reasoning of why they're doing whatever they're doing.
Yeah,
and that was one thing I always tried to push as when I was in a leadership position, like try to pass word to my guys when I can, just so they understand what we're doing, so they don't feel like it's a waste of time. Like, why are we laying out the radios again? Why are we doing this, fire mission or whatever? What are we doing this kind of thing in the field again? It's like, okay, here's the reasoning why, guys, and that's. I think you need to give guys that information every once in a while, just because it's good for them as they progress in their careers. They have a better understanding of the entire process. And two, it gives them a little bit of feedback so they don't feel like they're just punching the air and not really, it's all random, and it's not. It's not all randomized.
That's even like lost on like my peers today. I did the career course, which was great. The little in-house career course thing where you read some tab books and then you talk about it. Like I loved it. Like I loved having discussion.
I did 12 years, 0 PME.
This is my first one I actually had to do. So I did all my shit online, and I still didn't have to go to like the big long course. So, but it was cool to sit down with like 0811 because I was here in Fort Sill, but it was like 0811s and stuff like that. And then the fire supporters really are the guys that have the broadest knowledge about everything. We started talking about war fighting and the tactical, strategic, and operational levels and stuff like that. And somehow we got onto the thing about, we went to Korea, we got off the boat, we did this big landing, we didn't even do anything, man. We just got back on the boat and left. It was fucking stupid. And I'm like, actually, at the tactical level, that sounds pretty fucking stupid. But at like the strategic level, you just showed all of Asia that we're gonna land on your fucking island, and there ain't shit you're gonna do about it.
Yeah, we can actually do it. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's what you just proved to the world, to everyone watching. And then they're like, shut the fuck, that's not what that means. And I'm like, okay.
That's exactly what I mean. It's not in the news because real people don't care, but like militaries around the world are watching what we can do, and we're watching what they can do.
Yeah, it's literally us flexing to the world, and people don't understand because it's not at that tactical level. But, again, being fortunate enough to see what an operational level thing looks like and having an idea like, oh, well, if we do it this way, then maybe it's strategic, like that's why we do this. Oh, that's why we do this all the way down here. That's why we get off the boat, run 200 meters in, and then turn around and get back on the boat. Gotcha.
Yeah.
We just showed the world.
And it shows that we're standing with our partner nations too. That we're here to support South Korea. Fuck North Korea if they want to mess around. Like this is what we can do.
Yeah. Fuck around and find out. Like I just landed. What you gonna do about it?
So
all this firepower.
You want to kind of explain what a UDP? I think someone might have talked about it, but I know we have a bunch of new listeners that'll jump in later on. You want to explain what a UDP is and kind of what that kind of entailed for you?
Yeah. So the UDP. Again, I'm not great at explaining these things, but a UDP is the Unit Deployment Program, and so there's a artillery headquarters in Japan, which things are about to change around the Marine Corps big time, but it doesn't have any firing units or any batteries. So what they do is they'll take the Unit Deployment Program is just a cycle, so they'll cycle units from all over the Marine Corps in and out. So the 110 went, I think we had I don't remember what other battery was there, but there's batteries from all over the Marine Corps. So when they're all over there at the same time, you have a full battalion. Like you have everybody, all your shooters, life is good. So what we did is we went in 110. I was in the gun, I was in the battalion as an observer. I wasn't with the infantry guys. We went over with the guns, and I lived with the artillery guys. And then we would go do missions. So, we did, some backyard shoots. The big one we did was, Sendai, Japan. So, it's really, how do we, it's mostly focused on the gun guys, it seems like. How do we get all of our equipment on a boat? How do we get all our equipment for, slung load for helicopters? How do we move so many pieces from A to B? Mm-hmm. How do we do that? So, that was what it really seemed like. And then our shoot didn't really seem like, it was just we're shooting to just shoot.
Well, it's because the hardest part about artillery is the logistics planning,
right?
To move a battery and move a battalion of fucking.
There's so much. It's not just moving a gun, and like there's so much to it. Which for us, like as a fire support, like if you can't carry it on your back, it's not coming with you.
Yeah,
you know, like that's everything you got is in your ruck. So.
That's why nobody ever used the what are those things called? What are those tablets called? The strike links.
Strike link. God, dude,
that's why nobody carried those tablets because they were like, why aren't I had a So when I was in Afghanistan, the same time you were, 2011, 5th Marines came and took over as a regimental fire support, like above us, like okay, and I remember the fire chief called down to me and he's like, "Hey, why aren't your guys using strike links?" And I'm like, "Fuck it, what? Like, what are you talking about,
dude?"
Like, he's like, "Why aren't you guys using them?" I'm like, "Because they're worthless, dude. Like, they're not worthless, but they're too heavy. Like, they're good for a static position, and I'm not going to use it inside the COC, the command center, because I have Google. You know, I have like an actual laptop with normal programs on it, and I told him, I was like, plus all those like." Everyone just took the radios out of them because everybody wants that golf radio out of it, you know, because that's like the best radio to have right now at that time.
That's it.
And I was just like, I couldn't believe it. They were arguing. He literally was going back and forth to me why I should be having my scouts carry strike links with them on their missions in different parts of Marja. And I'm like, that's insane. I'm not doing that.
You know why? And the other thing is that, you know, the people that argue the hardest for them are the ones that don't have to carry it.
Exactly.
And that's like my biggest thing. You know, even though we've moved to like the slate tablet thing, so being a Fort Sill, it's super sweet because everything that's coming through, like we get the first hands on it. Like we were talking about the Oculus Rift, and like I'm like doing virtual reality controls and sims, and this is awesome. They came out with the augmented reality that they're trying to do, which, you know, it's cool, but you literally have a big ass laptop strapped to your back with like a ghetto hat and like a ghetto camera, and like I understand that it's like in the infancy stages, but what it does is like this camera, you put these goggles on, and then the camera will, like, you know, you're looking out in the real world, but it, you know, it puts augmented reality targets it'll overlay targets into your real life stuff. But it's so
that's super
finicky.
Cool.
It sounds really cool, but it's so finicky and like stuff doesn't make sense. But again, a lot of this equipment is made for us, not by us.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest pet peeve is like we have these new tablets, sweet, the big old juggernaut thing. First off, now I got an 11-inch tablet that I have to do something with. I got this 11-inch pouch that's now they want me to put on my flak. Cool, you just covered up all my magazines. And like, where do I put this shit?
Does everyone carry that now, or what? Who gets that?
So that's it's the Strike Link replacement is the new tablet. Which has the Mafia or MFA. Sorry, like don't say the wrong words. Everyone gets mad. So MFA, which is the MagTaf Fires application. I think I should totally know this.
Is this kind of like Kill Switch?
It's literally the exact same thing.
Okay, they just redid Kill Switch as an organizational program.
I don't know the whole beef, but I guess there was beef with like China Lake and people, and they're like, "We're not doing Kill Switch. Get rid of Kill Switch." But now we have MFA, and I'm like, "This is the exact same thing," which is cool. Like I already know how to use all this. But the whole package comes with like a backpack and radios, and it's like how to set this up, and like it is terribly built because all this system fits in this super crappy backpack, and that's all that goes in there. And I'm like, tight. Where's my water go? Where's my ammo? Oh, by the way, Mortars needs me to carry all these rounds. Like, what do I do now? Like, it's built. It's a lot of gear built for us, not by us.
Yeah.
So that's what's aggravating.
I was always happy having. I had the Samsung Galaxy whatever tablet they had in 2013. I went out and bought my own tablet because Kill Switch had just come out. It was called not APKWS. That's a rocket. There was a different name for
ATACs. They have ATACs.
Well, no, it was like PFib. That's what it was called. It was called PFib.
Oh yeah.
And so I got one of the first copies of it and got to take it to Afghanistan with me. And then when I got to Afghanistan, I took my tablet and I went over to the ACE and got all the maps for it. And having that tablet in an OtterBox and it would fit in my cargo pocket was like the best thing ever because I could just pull it out, do what I need to do, and put it back, and then do everything over the radio. This whole, to me, we do not have the infrastructure, like the digital infrastructure and the capabilities to do full digital loop on artillery in a real world tactical scenario. I mean, you can do it, but is it better? And most of the time now, they still require you to give a fire over a verbal fire, a verbal like cleared hot over the radio, and it's like, then why am I doing all this other shit?
Or verbal readback, and that's my argument too. But what I think the Marine, like the military as a whole, again, we're trying to get to the digital side again to minimize footprint and minimize transmission time. Like I understand the big picture, I really do. But,
I
like,
get
dude,
that,
the
but we're just
juice-
not there
yeah.
yet.
Dude, the juice. But that's the thing. Like, how do we get there? So we're gonna keep forcing all this shit. We find these gaps, and then that's how it gets a little bit better. It's just like we're fixing it, but just painfully miserably because it's like the government way, not like a private contractor way where people will sit down and they have a couple years of testing and this, that, and the third. It's just like, here's your shit, tell me what happens, and don't die with it.
I wonder with stuff like that how much like analog training the units are doing. Like the fire teams or the fire support teams at like the battalions. Are they relying on those tablets and stuff now, or are they still teaching and continually reinforcing map and compass work? Because I know firsthand that equipment will go wrong.
Fails.
Will fail in combat. It happened to me multiple times, and I'm glad I knew what the hell I was doing. Is that still being like pushed, or is it like let's do some digital and some of this?
Which is pretty fun. I remember, so I did an ITX. My first ITX as a JTAC. I had my little kill switch app thing on my tablet, and I remember the Coyote was like, "Oh, fucking apps! Like, get that shit out of here. Here's your fucking map." And I'm like, "All right, tight. That's easy." I'm back on the map. And I deploy, and then I come back, and I'm doing my second ITX as a JTAC, and I have my map, and he's like, "Oh, look at this guy with a fucking map. Like, get your kill switch out." I'm like, okay. So there's like this huge shift to do the digital side, but I know being here at Fort Sill, there's a huge talk of like the digital side. Like, how do we do the complete digital loop? And then on the complete opposite spectrum is like degraded operations. There's huge working. I have not sat in, and I cannot speak intelligently on what's going on in the degraded ops. But I know another focus is like everything's dead. What do we do now?
Yeah.
Like
I'm glad they're focusing on that now.
Yeah. So, but again, for the scout side, it's super easy. It's directional line, tick mark. There's your grid call today. But now when you start talking about like, what does radar have to do? What is weather, like sensors? What are all these other... I think they're really the big focus on degraded ops. Mm-hmm. But like I said, us is really easy. Like if our radio doesn't work, cool. I'll write it down. I'll send a runner.
Well, it's really easy as long as you know what to do.
Right.
Like the problem... So when I was at Anglico, when we had our JTACs, the JTACs were not allowed to use tablets until they were designated. That means they had done all their designation controls plus all the other training that they're going to be doing during the designation phase. And then once they completed all these tasks with map and compass and shown that they're proficient, they can use a map and compass and binos, and they can go out and control air, and they can program their own radio. Then it was like, all right, now you can start using kill switch on some of your missions and stuff like that. Because and we want you to use the technology because it's quicker, it'll make you faster, but you have to have that base knowledge because if that tablet dies or it gets broken or something happens, if you don't know how to fucking plot on a map anymore, you're worthless. And
that's what we tell the kids, like, hey, this dig stuff is cool, but a map doesn't run out of batteries.
Yeah.
Like, plain and simple. A compass is a compass is a compass. Like your phone's gonna die. My phone is shitted out plenty of times. And like I like kills, but now that I've had my goes with it, I'll use the apps for planning. I'll plan the shit out of everything.
They're great for planning.
All of my finalized shit goes on my map, and my map stays right in my kangaroo pouch. So like I'll still work all my shit off a map with a protractor, with a map pen, a little magic erasing pen. So like that's where my work goes. But the majority of it, I just plan because again, I don't want to carry it. I don't like the battery. It's just so much extra stuff that you just have to maintain and cable management and all this mess. And I'm like, dude, just give me a fucking map.
Yeah. No, I feel you, man. Yeah. I just really hope that they're still pushing that analog training for guys because it's so important.
So again, back to Coronado going away. So Coronado goes away, right? So like, what happens? Right now, I've done a preliminary, like, what are we doing with these extra days? So the idea is Coronado goes away. That's like 19 training days. So we take those 19 training days and we glue them to the end of MASOC. So now you go from 28 to like, what is that, 47? I don't do math in public. But now you have all these days and it's like, let's stop making forward observer or scouts. Let's start making fire support Marines.
Yeah.
So that's the big thing. So it's like, right now, the way it's structured, and again, they're like, I'm the source. So, like, if someone's like, oh, that's not right, like, no, I'm the motherfucker doing all the stupid paperwork for it. So, what we're looking to do is, like, the first one is radio and land nav. That doesn't change. It's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And then you do block 1, call for fire, which is artillery, and it's literally the same MASOC stuff. Block 2, call for fire, is going to be naval guns. Hey, you guys have done this. You're really proficient, so now we're just going to change it up. We just don't want to put such an emphasis on naval guns because it always happens. These kids check into the fleet, and all they know is naval guns. It's all they can recite. And it's like, okay, we want you to know and understand naval gunfire, the capabilities and limitations, but don't let that be what you go into the fleet with.
Yeah,
right?
I always thought it was weird that we did naval gunfire second and not like do naval gunfire first and then do artillery, because that's what we're going to be doing mostly in the fleet.
Even if you do a large scale op, you're going to land, you're going to be on the boat with the team and you're the shore fire team, and you're going to do naval guns fire first and then transition to artillery. So why wouldn't you team?
I mean, I know a lot of guys that never did a naval gunfire call for fire once they hit the fleet. Like that was, it only ever happened occasionally out at Camp Lejeune. Yeah. It's easier to do from Pendleton because you fly out to San Clemente Island, and they do it more out there. But at Lejeune, like I think,
but even
I was at 10th Marines for about 3 years, and I can only ever remember 1 or 2 like naval gunfire exercises that we did.
Yeah. It was actually my very first shoot, and that was the only time I've ever done naval guns. It was my first time as a PFC. And I was like, oh my God, I'm actually doing naval guns. This is cool. But that's the other argument is, Coronado, first off, they fly there, but how many times do they really shoot? And we're finding out, like, things happen with the ship, the gun breaks, this and the third, they get like, okay, so how many times are you guys really employing a naval gunfire ship? So that's kind of the question that was raised. And so what I'm building.
Was it not happening very often?
Not as often as people would have liked. Like, the juice, it did not seem to be worth the squeeze. And again, I'm going to go into work, and they're going to be like, Rob, why are you saying all this? I'm like, well, I'm just telling you what I know.
So was it a money thing, or was it...
I think it was just a juice not worth the squeeze thing. Like, we're sending these dudes out there, but they're just going to sit in the what I think we called it the prison, like the big building out there.
Oh, yeah,
yeah. Whatever that thing is. So you just sit on this island for like 5 days, and they're like, we're doing naval guns.
Oh, the castle.
The guns broke. Yeah, the castle.
They don't go there anymore. They've been going. Those nerds. Like, I guess that place is condemned. A couple of years after I went there.
That place was gross when we went there.
It was, but it was like a rite of passage. You had to go there.
Yeah, it was just disgusting.
Yeah,
I just remember like the whole room was like 60 mattresses that like hadn't been moved, like all moldy and shit. And we're like, here we go, boys. This is where we're living.
There's like little stains on them. You're like, ugh, what the fuck is that? Yeah, now
and of course
the last classes I knew about were staying at the hotel on the main side of the island.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
What? So again, I don't really mess that much with Coronado. But then we're doing the Block 2 training, Block 2 call for fire, so that's going to be focused on naval gunfire. But then we're going to jump right back out of that, and then we're going to start teaching our special situations, so like illumination, of course, now looking at smoke, all those different things, but we're going to teach them concurrently.
All that stuff.
Yeah, so we're going to teach you concurrently, like, hey, this is how you do it with artillery, and this is how you do it with naval gunfire. It's a little bit different, but our focus, I want it to be artillery. And then what we're also doing with those extra days is FSCC stuff. So now we're going to get into a tent. Hey, plot this grid. Hey, do this. Here's a fire. We're going to take half the class. Again, the idea here is take half the class and have them call fire missions in our trainer. We got a trainer, like, through some crack deals. We have our own guard fist trainer now. So we have
What is that? What's a guard fist trainer?
So the guard fist is the big simulator, and the way that we've done it since I was a kid is stadium seating, 1 or 2 projections up on the wall. And the instructor, there's your target, shoot your target. So you do your map and stuff, and then you take binoculars that are measured.
Yeah, for the screen. I remember that.
So like it's just a very simple simulator. But we have one of those now, so now we don't have to rely on anybody. Which is super nice.
I thought you guys had that. I mean, they had that stadium. Or are you talking about something that's more like the SAVT, where it's like a dome?
No. So they have the guard fist, which is stadium seating. The Army runs it, so we have to schedule that. We have to do this, that, and the third. And now there's a huge simulation center on Fort Sill. It's called Monty Hall, and it's like 100 or like 200 degrees of view, and it does everything. It's literally the SAVT.
Oh, okay.
And it has all the radios and shit, and it's super cool. But we're finding like we're not really making that much money because we tried the guard fist, like we've done for the last, since I was a student. Monty Hall was cool, but like you can only get like one kid going at a time with all this stuff, and it's kind of like But we took that system, and now we have that system literally in my other office.
Oh,
so at any time, like we can just go next door and be like, "Hey, you suck. Come on, we're simming." So we're also trying to like cater to the ones that suck. So it's like, "Hey, man, like you're gonna stay back from lunch, and we're gonna get you extra reps instead of just being another number." Like because our attrition rate is absolutely garbage.
Really,
it's so bad. Like I don't know if you do. We just graduated 20 kids out of 30. A third of the class failed.
What? For what?
Dude,
what does the major of the failures come from?
So a lot stupidity. A lot of the things. The very first test, which we revamped, is the land nav test, and kids just lose their mind on it. We'll have like 7 failures on a very easy test, and we're like, And of course, as soon as a kid fails the first test, his mind's shot. Like, that kid doesn't care. So we've made that test multiple choice to try to give these kids a leg up. So hopefully we stay away from those. The call for fire, these kids they just don't listen to procedure. Hey, 1 over, 1 short, then you cut your corrections in half. And then you'll just hear, like, off-the-wall shit. You're like, we had a kid talk about, like, he's measuring in millimeters. And we're like, millimeters? And he's like, yeah, millimeters. I'm like, do you mean mils? He's like, yeah, mils. I'm like, we've never said the word millimeters in this class. Like, a kid would write that on the test. Like, where do you find this shit? Like the last final, it was so embarrassing. It's like, dude, I cannot do the test for you. That is to the point we're at. The Kahoot. So Kahoot is a program. You can make tests on the computer. Kids can log in on their phone, and it's like a fun fun school thing where they click and they can like answer. I literally took the final. Yeah, we use that in college. Yeah, and it's great. I love it. I took the final, typed up all the questions that I could that were like had answers to them that weren't like, find the direction of this. I took that and I put it on the Kahoot, and I went to the class like, look, you see what this says? This says the final. I'm putting it on the internet for you to do. Out of 30 kids, 14 kids took it.
Oh, really?
I'm like, bro, I cannot
what
do
else are they doing?
For you.
There's not that much to do in Lawton, Oklahoma. What?
Well, dude, I'm telling you, it's so bad.
So,
from my perspective, it's bad.
Is that a normal amount of people to fail the course?
Dude, so
I don't think anybody failed my class, or maybe 1 or 2.
Yeah, I didn't fail. I don't think anybody failed in our class. I remember we tried to get a kid to fail, and he still didn't fail. But our max cap is 30. So for the longest time, we've had 30 students. The attrition rate is so bad that we took 35 students with the expectation to drop like 5 or 6, and then like your numbers look like, oh, you only dropped 3 out of 30. Like, actually, we dropped 8 out of 35, but you don't need to know that, right? So that's kind of like how we shimmy those numbers. But now with the learning modernization, the idea is I can only fit 30 in the classroom because I don't have any, like, I'm running low on tables, I'm running low on laptops, I'm using DVTEs that are just lucky we still have them. We're really piecemealing stuff together to make it work.
Dude, you're making it sound like it's rough over there for you guys.
It's really not that bad. Like, don't get me wrong. Hey, if anyone's listening and like wants to come to Fort Sill, this place is a fucking diamond in like.
Nobody wants to go to Fort fucking Sill.
I'm telling you, everyone says that until you come here, and I'm like, hey man, you want to go to the gym? All right, see, I'll teach the class. Get out of here.
I had a buddy. I won't call him a buddy. He was my Gunny Klein. He was a Fort Sill.
Oh yeah, I know Gunny Klein.
He was a Chiefs course instructor. He was my first. Well, he wasn't my first. Technically, he wasn't my first. I had another fires chief like for a month or 2, and then he went to recon, and then Gunny Klein. Yeah. He was Staff Sergeant Klein when I met him. He became my fires chief, and then he went to Fort Sill to be the Chiefs course instructor. And then I was in his very first class at Chiefs course. And he was like, you need to come out to Fort Sill and become an instructor, and he's like, you can't be a JTAC forever. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to fucking try. Like, I'm not trying. Like, I'm just not just going to give up being a JTAC and go to Fort Sill. Like, no way, man. I remember Lawton. I've been there a couple times now, and it's just not somewhere where I didn't want to take my family and stuff there, maybe. Yeah. And it's just like everything else. I'm on the outside looking in. Like, once you're there, you're like, oh, it's just a regular town. Like, there's, but.
Yeah, just don't go to the Walmart after 8 p.m. That's all I'm saying. Like, you're fine.
Man, I don't know. We used to go and hang out at Gertz. What was the bar we went to? We'd go to Gertz. And then Scooters.
There it is.
Scooters.
Coin beer night. Yep, Scooters.
That's what it was.
I was supposed to go there last night, and I'm glad I didn't. The old fight broke out.
Fucking Scooters. Jesus.
Scooters, Dragons, yeah.
I'm not really a strip club guy, so I never went to Dragons. Was it called Dragons West or something like that?
Yeah. Sidewinders and Dragons West, whatever label they're putting on it.
So many guys would go and blow money at places like that. And I'm like, dude, like, I would much rather just go to an actual bar, spend money, and talk to actual chicks.
And have a real shot at a woman.
And not just, not even that, but not deal with someone that's obviously got issues. Like, if you're dancing for money, there's probably something deeper going on. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. No offense if there's any strippers listening, that I don't want to offend you. But
just keep trying, girl.
But anyway, so the attrition rate. So that's pretty wild that the attrition rate is that high. What happens?
Sucks.
What happens to the guys that fail out? What do you do with them?
So the way it works is
guys and gals.
Guys and gals now, and we'll touch on that because that's actually not as big as you would think. So if a kid meets all the prereqs, so our 10 failures, we had one kid roll his ankle coming off the bus, and now he's in physical therapy. Dude, I can't make this. I get a phone call. He's like,
"Ankled bitch." Like, come on.
I'm telling you, I can't make this shit up. And the kid's actually not picking up next class either. He's supposed to be in this one, but he's in
physical therapy because he rolled his ankle.
physical therapy. I get a text. It's like, hey, this dude rolled his ankle coming off the bus. He has to go to medical. I'm like, okay. And then it's like, this kid's not coming back because he got physical therapy. I'm like, bro, for what?
Did he like
dude, I got
tear some tendons or something?
No, he's fine. He's like, I see him pretty frequently. He looks fucking normal to me.
He's out playing basketball and shit. Like, his ankles, ain't nothing wrong with his ankles.
I'm like, dude, I have a torn C5 in my neck. My entire right arm is completely atrophied. I can't. At one point, I could barely write my name with a pencil.
Holy shit.
My knees are shot. I was getting Toradol shots in my butt on deployment because my back was so bad. I used to have to take a knee to like brush my teeth and like tying my shoe. I would be in literal tears trying to put my boot on, and we're trying to figure out like how to put my boot on without bending over. I would be in tears, and then I would go ride an Osprey for 8 hours on trap, and I would get off like crying. Like as I just remember like dreading, like you could feel the heat as you started to like come down, descend. I'm just like I'd start crying because I'm like, fuck, you don't have to stand up, man. This is gonna suck. And I just remember like shaking and crying as I'm trying to stand up. I'm like, and this kid rolled his ankle.
There's nothing worse than some like severe back pain to really ruin your life. If you're a field guy, if you're not working in the FSCC and you're out humping it. So my back is messed up now. I was pretty lucky not the entire time through the Marine Corps. I didn't have too many like physical issues. I messed my knee up one time doing McMap, no big deal, and then. I don't know. I just never got hurt. Like my knees were fine. My back was always good. Like I never had these problems that people always talk about. And then I went out to Fort Polk, Louisiana with First Anglo Co. We were attached to the 501st. They flew in from like Alaska. We attached to the 501st to go through JRTC, which I think it's Joint Regional Training Center or something like that. It's kind of like going through EMV, the Mojave Viper, like the big ass training exercise. Like this is like a battalion and then regimental size exercise. And we were attached out there to be, to help with being forward observers and fire support and stuff. And it was super cool. And we also had a British unit there. And they were like, Kramer, you're going to be the JTAC for the British company. You're going to go with them. I'm like, all right, cool. And packing all my shit. They're like, hey, pack all your stuff. You're going out to the field and you're going to drop almost all your stuff in this one location, and then you're going to have like your assault pack and stuff for the daily patrols. But you got to carry all your shit out there to survive in the field for a little bit.
Right.
And we're like, cool. So we got everything packed, and they were like, hey, move the bags. We got to go over here. This is where the bus are going to pick us up. Pick up your bags. And, these bags are over 100 pounds. I'm like, pick it up the bag, walk it over there like the 20 feet, drop the bag. They're like, nope, never mind. We're moving down this way. It's like, 200 yards that way. Pick up the bag, carry the bag, drop the bag. And this happened literally 3 times. And I remember the last time I did it, like pulling the bag up on my back, I just felt something tweak in my back. And then we got out to the field area, and I woke up the next morning and I could not bend over. I was like, what the fuck? Same thing, man. I couldn't tie my shoes. I was like, Doc, I was like, I don't know. And I don't even take medicine. I don't even like taking pills. I'm like, Doc, I don't know what kind of medicine you got on you, but I need something because I can't fucking feel my leg. Like my shit's all numb. Like everything's fucked up. And I'm about to go on patrol with these British dudes. And I'm not about to look like a bitch going out with all these Brits,
No, absolutely not. I ain't bitching now.
So
I'll cry the whole time.
Doc gives me like, a shit ton of Motrin, and I think he had like a naproxen was all he had. And I took all this shit, throw my pack on, go do the patrols that day, come back, wake up the next morning, even more miserable, and I just rinse and repeat to get through it. And my back's never been the same, honestly. Like it's hurting now again. But
oh, dude, my back is.
When you have a back injury. Oh, dude, it sucks. But I don't know, man. An ankle injury, unless that kid like tore some tendons or something, like
front flipped out and landed wrong. Like I don't know. Like I know freak stuff happens. Like I promise. Like freak shit happens. Like someone like broke their foot like getting out of their car one day. Like they took a step and like, oh shit, like they tore all the tendons in their foot. Like I don't know, just get out of my car. Like I understand, but come on, dude.
What are like the top 3 issues that you have? And that could be it could be stuff with learning the material to like personal issues. Dude, what are the top 3 issues you have with new guys and girls?
Dude, the issue that I have the most is the boot camp to like Fort Sill phase. Because boot camp, right? You just do exactly what you're told, no thinking involved. MCT, do exactly what you're told, no thinking involved. Like you get you just go, you just graduate, and then you come to Fort Sill and you're like, here, take this test, and they're like we had a kid say, he's like, what do you mean I failed? I'm like, you failed and you're gonna get He was like, oh, well, I didn't take it that serious. Can I do it again? And I'm like, what? It's like these kids just get pushed. Like the whole boot camp to Fort Sill or like the whole boot camp to MOS model is just broke. So it's like these kids don't really apply themselves until they get to Fort Sill, and they just violently apply. So it's like we tell them, hey, like I will literally be like, take out your note cards on your index cards and write this question that I'm about to say down because it is on the test. And like no one moves.
I would
okay, get your. I give these kids the answers.
I would probably say also that the boot camp and MCT sets you up to receive information and do what you're told to do, right?
Exactly.
And
absolutely.
And we have an MOS that's different than a lot of the other ones, where when you come to the unit, there's some expectation that you need to be able to come up with your own thoughts. Like you have to be a thinking person to figure out, because every fire mission is a problem. Like you look at the problem and go, okay, what's the safest way I can do this? What's the most effective way I can do this while still being safe? And you have to think through the problem. And you're right that the model is broken probably for our MOS and other similar style MOSs. But if you're going to go be an infantryman, like an 0311, they don't want you to think. They want you to fucking do this. And when I tell you to do it, you're going to do it. So I see what you're saying, but you can't really, it's going to be hard to change that fact.
No, and I agree, which I think it's going to be beneficial, too, for having the extra days. Now, going from 28 to, like, 47, because right at the end, right when they graduate, it's, like, right when you're starting to turn these kids, and, like, they start thinking for themselves, they really get, and then they go to Coronado. And it's like, damn, almost had one. So now with these extra days, I think you're really going to see, and then you start talking FSCC and problem-solving skills, because that's what I'm hearing a lot, like, hey, make these kids, like, do problems. And I'm like, bro, I got 28 days, and even that's not enough. Like, this shit is so crammed in. We need more days. But again, the way the Marine Corps builds its periods of instruction and the way that classes are built and like how the structure of how everything is built, the curriculum, because you have to do a course called Curriculum Developer, and it's like, how do you build this? Dude, it leaves no room for any error, and a lot of it's guesswork. Like, how long does it take to teach map class?
Yeah.
Well, for you, it takes 8 hours. For me, it takes 10 hours. So, but your class is only allotted 8. And you have to do this, like, and it's just like, dude, there's no wiggle room. But you're absolutely right with, like, 0811s. Bro, know what an aluminum round looks like? Pick it up, put it on the tray, go. Like, there's not that much thinking involved until you're, like a sergeant. And you're actually, like, in charge of the gunner at chief. But us, it's like, you're a PFC, go. Like, you're in charge now.
We need you to think independently, because as a PFC Lance Corporal, 0861 forward observer, you get attached to, say, whatever infantry battalion, let's say 1-6, you're going to, Libya, making shit up here. As a PFC, like, you're going to go to that company with a fist, like your team, like a lieutenant, a radio operator, and yourself as a forward observer. But when they go on patrol, the lieutenant's not coming on patrol. The radio operator is probably getting pulled to be a company radio watch. Maybe he gets to go out on patrol 100%. Sometimes. You, as the scout observer, are going out as the fire support professional and are expected to know your job and do it effectively under fire, possibly, with all these infantrymen. And it's...
they're not going to help you.
I think
they don't know.
I think the thing that you, and I saw this in the fleet too, it's hard to get guys to appreciate what you're trying to teach them and to fully understand it until they've seen the reality of what it can occur. You know what I'm saying? I was lucky enough to be, when I lat moved, and I'm sure when you were coming up, we were lucky enough to be around people that were tested in combat and came back and gave us real world advice. Like, this is how it's going to happen. This is what's going to be expected. These are the things that could fuck up, and these are the things that you definitely need to know. And then you see the memorial walls with people's names on them, and you're like,
that dude just talked about, oh, so-and-so, him and I did this, and then his name's on the wall. And
it's like, this is a real life fucking job. And like, I know people that have been killed in combat. I'm sure, I don't know if you do, but a lot of us in this community, we know guys that have been killed because it's a dangerous job and it's legitimate, and you're expected to do I always told guys, I'm like, when I was teaching the JFO and JTAC primers, but it's kind of the same with the FOs, it can be, is you're either, when it's time to do your job for real, when it's like you're in a firefight and it's time to do it, you can either be the hero that saves the day and suppresses enemy fire, kills dudes with accurate fire support, or you can be an asshole that fucks it up and
makes the problem 10 times worse.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, what do you want to be? And when you're laying in a field or on a fucking berm in Afghanistan, you want to be the guy that's doing the right thing. You don't want to be hindering the mission and possibly getting one of your buddies killed. And it's,
but that skill set, you build that in the rear, and you don't care. You're like, I'm just waiting to go play PlayStation. I just want to play Fortnite. I just want to do this.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get you these reps, but we can't. We always come off as asshole. And again, like I'm just now realizing, I'm like, well, now I know why staff sergeant was always so angry. Right? I'm trying to convey these messages to you because I've seen what dudes on the other side of the fence are willing to do to another man. Like, it's not cool. I tell the kids, I'm like, Call of Duty blew it out for you because war ain't cool. There ain't shit cool about it. It's a professional business arms. Like, this shit, you're going to see some stuff.
There's some cool shit.
There's a lot, but you can't tell them that because they'll be like, Staff Sergeant, what's cool that you did?
Yeah.
Like, bro, shut the fuck up.
Point them towards my podcast.
You got to watch what you say around these kids, man. They will, fuck, man. Everything.
What, like IO complaints and shit? Or EO complaints?
I got a complaint. So, like, I'm not like a super aggressive person, I don't think, but I'm very emotional. I love my job. I love teaching. I love seeing people get the click, and I get upset when people don't want to learn what we have to offer. I'm like, bro, you have the greatest job in the Marine Corps. Hands down. The most fun job. Like, you could do all the cool grunt shit, but then, like, everyone's looking at you to, like, handle business, and you got airplanes. Like, you're the cool guy in the group. And you're a pogue, so it's fucking even better. Because it's like, check out what the pogue's doing, boys. What's good? And and I just get so upset. And I'll just say some shit off the cuff. It's like, man, if y'all don't pay attention, I'm going to just start beating the shit out of all of y'all. You just get it. And then it comes back like, Staff Sergeant, did you just threaten to beat every student to death? And I'm like, I'm going to be real, sir. Probably, because I say some stuff like that from time to time. I don't mean it. I never direct anything at somebody. Like, I'm never going to say, PFC, like, so-and-so, I'm going to kill you.
I'm going to kick your teeth.
It's a generalization. Yeah, but you better pay attention. But, like, these kids will just take it and just blow it out of proportion. Like, dude, now I got to stand in front of the man. And when I just had a kid, or just had not a kid, he's a grown man. My JFO from my deployment, he just showed up, and he's now one of the instructors. And the first thing he said was like, dude, I'm super scared of catching a hazing charge. Like, I'm so scared to say shit around these kids. And in my heart, I'm like, good, you should be, because they will dime your ass out in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Like, there is no love here. As soon as you look at these kids, I had a kid, one of my dudes is super big, super yoked, super strong. He's a gym guy. He puts headphones on, and he's that guy. He doesn't see anything but weight. I had a kid, a PFC, like, say, I can't go to the gym. I'm like, why? He's like, because the sergeant's there, and he's really big, and he intimidates me, and I don't feel comfortable. I'm like, fucking what? Are you kidding me? I'm like, that dude doesn't even see you. He's like, he keeps looking at me, and I'm intimidated. I'm like, bro, what?
Dude,
like, he doesn't see you.
How about
He's
this?
lifting.
Quit being a pussy.
Dude, now, now I'm standing in front of the man. Did you instruct this Marine to not be a pussy? Like, yes, sir, I did. Yeah, yes, sir. Well, you can't say
it's
that,
like, what do you want me to tell him? Go fucking work out, bro. Quit being a fucking pussy.
Bro, I had a kid. This just happened. This blows my mind. Like, I don't even know, like, because I'm gonna sound like a real bitch, but it hurt my, like, I don't even know what. I'm getting, like, pissed off thinking about it. So I was on duty. I was on SDO, and again, like, if you want a problem, just look down the hallway and you will find something stupid, and that's what it is. So it's like 2 a.m, and I'm like, I'm having a terrible fucking day on duty. Like, everything that can go wrong has gone wrong. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to walk down one hallway, and I'm going to find some shit. Open the first door to the hallway, and I see this kid on his phone, and he's Firewatch. And his eyes lock mine, like, we meet eyes, and he, like, slowly slides his phone in his pocket. And I'm like, no, what you got? Come on, what you got in there? And he goes, oh, it's just my vape. And I'm like, no, this thing. And I hit him, like, he goes, oh, that's my phone. I'm like, yeah, no shit, give me your fucking phone. Are you supposed to, give him the whole thing?
Yeah.
And he's like, I was checking the time. And I'm like, no, the fuck you weren't. Meanwhile, I have his phone in my hand, and it's going off. And I look at it, it's Snapchat, 2 snap, 3 snap, 4 snap. I'm like, dude, it's 2 o'clock in the morning here. I'm not stupid. So I take, and he keeps saying, like, well, I was trying to check the time. And I'm like, bro, shut the fuck up. No, you weren't. Like, just leave it. You're done. I put the phone away, and I'm like, go back to your fucking post. He turns around, and he turns back, and he goes, you know what, Staff Sergeant? I'm going to tell you what you saw. And, like, dude, my whole, like, body was just infuriated. What? And, like, I started doing calculations in my head. I was like, all right, if I hit this kid, like, he's going to hit the wall. I hit him with the left. I throw him down. I'll just start stomping him. And I'm like, I just, like, go back to your fucking post. And I didn't know what to do. Like, I was about to just tear this kid apart.
That's a tough situation, because something like that where you put hands on somebody, you definitely... Yeah,
you're done.
And other people will be like, well, you should just be able to do paperwork on them. It's like, dude, that shit doesn't work, man.
And that's why I didn't even pursue
does not fucking work.
I didn't, because you're just going to make him the cool kid. Oh, I got paperwork. Now I've got 615. Ain't worried about it. I'm like, dude, you just need to fucking have your shit broke off. One time, just get your teeth fucking rocked.
So you call ahead to his unit and be like, hey, man, this guy's coming your way.
But that's the other thing. He wasn't in my schoolhouse, so, like, I'm like, dude, whatever. I do not.
So back to what we were talking about before. If someone fails out of the schoolhouse, do they go to one of the other 08 schools since it's right there in Fort Sill?
If they fail the first time, they get recycled. They come back, pending they meet all the requirements. And if they fail again, then they go reclassification. If they're smart, we try to keep them in house. So either you go be an 0811, like if you don't meet GT requirements for the other MOSs, you'll go be 0811, or you'll go do FDC or something like that.
How would you not meet GT requirement? Because isn't FOs have one of the highest GT requirements?
I have students that don't meet GT requirement, and I pull it up. And color me shocked, the kids that don't meet requirement are typically the ones that fail. So now I have kids that don't meet the minimum requirement, which is 100, but I was also told that there's a -3. So the minimum GT requirement is 100. And I know when I came in, it was 110. And it dropped down to 105.
That's what I said. I thought it was higher.
Yeah, it was 110 when I came in, and then it was 105, and now it's 100. But there's a -3, so a kid can have a 97 GT score and still be in. I'm like, well, then just fucking make it 97 then. But the kids, again, I don't tailor a number to people, but it is a pretty good indicator when I have like 3 kids that don't meet GT and 3 of them are failing.
Yeah, and like, for those that don't know what we're talking about, the GT score, imagine you took your SATs, and that's kind of the score you're receiving back. Like, you have different parts of the ASVAB, like you take a mechanical one, electrical part, writing, math, all that, and then they give you a general technical score, I believe is what GT actually stands for. Right. And then it's not your ASVAB score, which only goes up to 100. This goes up to whatever. I don't even know what.
It's like a random number, too.
I think I knew a captain that had like a 118 or a 120, like
I have a 123.
Oh, shit. Yeah, maybe it was that high. He's like the highest one I ever heard. A 123?
I'm dumb as shit. That's what I'm saying. It's either 121 or 123. Fuck. And I have a buddy I work with. He's like 127.
Look at the big brain on you.
Oh, look at this guy. Big old engineering brain. But that's the thing. Like, again, I know me. Don't tie that number to me. Like, oh, this guy's super smart. Like, trust me, no, I'm not. Like, I am not what I would consider smart in any aspect. I just like learning, and I like watching YouTube and shit like that. But
you really have to embrace the job to be really good at it. You have to embrace the job and like truly love it. If you want to be like one of the best dudes out there, you have to like
just get weird on YouTube. That's the best thing. Like, I'll just find I'll click this and I'll watch a video about an SA8 or something, and then next thing I know, I'm on the history of Russia, and then you go down these rabbit holes and you just learn so much. You're like, oh, that's why they fight like that. Okay, but kids today don't do that. They don't want to find the answer. They have every answer in their pocket on tap. They don't know what it's like to go through an encyclopedia and try to find something. They don't know what it's like to read a book, and even though they, now you can control F on the book, which is cool, but what information could you have just learned en route to what you're looking for?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, how do you land navigate at night? Oh, let me flip the book. Oh, and I just learned about train features again. That's how I learn, is I'll learn through a physical book.
Yeah.
But these kids don't do that. Dude, there's Wi-Fi in the barracks, which is great.
Oh, really?
If you're in the fleet, cool, tight, got it. But when you're in 19, that's all they do is just play. And I'm a huge gamer. I mean, I'm surrounded by video game posters. I have all my consoles sitting out there. I play I'm a gamer.
You can throw your gamer tag out there if you want.
Blood Junkie 666. Find me. Add me.
Is that really Blood Junkie 666? Jesus.
Yeah, no space either. No spaces. Find me on Call of Duty.
There you go. That's funny.
Yeah, I just wanted to be over the top as possible.
Now everybody's like making TikTok videos and fucking posting up these. Oh my god, it's crazy seeing the shit on the outside. Like looking at some of the social media stuff that's coming out of the military. It's like, dude, you guys look like morons. Like, some of it's funny, but most of you guys look like fucking morons.
Idiots. So that's the other thing I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to get a computer with the internet in our classroom, and I'm going to have a social media Monday where I just pull up, the dumbest Marine shit and be like, check out this guy who just embarrassed the shit out of us.
Yeah,
and everyone's going to laugh. I'm like, we just had kids. They're so stupid. Snapchat, you can do the little location thing. My favorite thing to do Saturday and Sunday night is just pull up the location and look at what's going on in the barracks. Dudes will fucking. We just got just vaping in the barracks, underage drink, just absolute bullshit, and they put it on Snapchat, and then they're like, "Oh, how did I get caught?" And it's like, bro, well, if it isn't the consequences of my own actions, you know? It's like,
how
are so stupid.
How has the integration of women come into play at the schoolhouse? And is there a What's the step? Is there like a physical test now that they have to take before they're allowed in the MOS or?
Yep. So what we have now is called the MOS Specific Physical Standard or Strength Test. I forget the S. It's called the MISPIS, and I'm all for it because it doesn't weed out like men and women. It weeds out weak motherfuckers.
Yeah.
So you have 3 events that you have to pass. You have the casualty drag, which is in kit, sprint 25, grab a dummy in kit, sprint back in under like 54 seconds. It's some like weird number. So that's like no one typically fails that one. You have the Mark 19 lift, which you have to pick up a Mark 19 dummy and press it over your head. So it's just this really weird, like Mark 19 is just weighted weird, like all the weights in the front. So
yeah, it's awkward.
Weird. Yeah, and then the last one, which hits, I just had 2 kids fail because they didn't meet the standard. You take a 115 clean and press. That's it, 115 pounds, and put it over your head and just stand there for a second. And I'm like, all right, down. But what I'm seeing is these kids, like I was saying, like I did gym class like 4 times in a day in high school. All we did was Olympic lift. These kids have never done an Olympic lift, so they don't know what they're doing. And clean and press is all about form and technique.
That's a very technical lift, yeah.
Yeah, it's very. So you got kids like I've watched kids pull it up on their chest and just fall straight back. I've watched kids press it and then like their arms go back, and you're like, oh no, like a kid's arm, dude. And the nasty one is where they go to put it down, they don't move their legs, so they just like slam the weight in their knee, and you see all their knees go back. I'm like, dude, you are gonna hurt. These kids have never been to the gym. These kids have never done an Olympic lift. And 115, like it's really not that much.
So you have guys that can't do it, but females that can.
So many. Oh yeah. So we've had. When I first got here was the first female. And I didn't see her do the MISPIS, but she was a fucking hoss. She, like, told dudes to shut the fuck up, get in line. Like, she ran it. And I was like, all right, bet. Like, good in my book. But really, females integrated has not been that big of a deal because it's academic, you know?
Yeah.
Most of it's academic. And then we had the second one. She struggled with it, but she got it up. And, again, you have to verify that, you know, you do it correctly. And she did all 3. She just took more attempts. Meanwhile, there's, like, 4 dudes who also have to redo it because they can't do it. We had 8 MISPIS failures, 8 PFT failures on day 1.
Coming from MCT, man, I can't say I'm surprised just because when I went through MCT, we didn't PT very much at all, right? I was on MCT on the East Coast. You had your hikes that you did, and then every like major exercise that we were supposed to do, like the endurance course, you're supposed to go do the what's that?
O-course, E-course.
Yeah. You're supposed to do all those different courses again. Every time we went to go do one of those events, there was like a major like storm or hurricane coming through and soaked everything. So there was like, well, we can't do it because it's all wet. And you can't, you'll slide off the obstacles. You can't even get over them. So instead, we just don't do anything. And then we had, on top of that, to make it worse, there was a female in my MCT platoon who thought she was getting fat, so she wasn't eating her MREs, and then I think one day she might have passed out or got lightheaded or something. And so our instructors are like, okay, since she doesn't want to eat all her food, everyone's going to sit down at the same time, and everyone's going to get handed an MRE, and they would sit there and make us eat every item inside the MRE and show them that every package was empty. Like you had to literally eat,
they're not good for you,
dude. So those are when we're eating 3 of those a day and then not PTing, it's like, dude, everyone got fat at MCT. I thought MCT, like some of the training was good, but that part of it, like the inability to PT or whatever the fuck, I don't know what the issue was. I came out of MCT in pretty bad shape. I mean, not the worst shape or anything, but still pretty bad shape. But
for us, like growing up throughout, like if you didn't get a first class, you were made fun of. Like, fucking bro, got a second. Like you just didn't get a second class. Yeah. Now I do understand that the standards have been raised, but it's not a 60-point difference. Like, I think my PFT dropped like 4 points. Even though I got the same shit, it's like relatively the same. You got guys like, oh, PFT's harder. I'm like, how do you go from like a 292 to a fucking like 178? No. First off, you've been sliming your shit for the last 10 years, and now,
part of the fitness test, do you guys have, or part of the fitness requirement, is there a minimum PT score or PFT score that you have to have?
So they're supposed to be. You're supposed to. So every kid that comes so far has met that minimum requirement in boot camp. You're supposed to have. It's not a score. It's you have to do at least 6 pull-ups and you have to do your 3 mile in like 24:50 or something like that. So there is a minimum that you have to meet, and every kid has met that in boot camp, but then they come to us, it's like, you did 14 pull-ups in boot camp, but you've done 2 here. We have kids show up that can't do any pull-ups.
Oh, really?
We have kids that fail crunches, that fail runs, and they're just like, oh, fuck it, I don't want to do it. And you're like, what? Like, that just wasn't a mentality that we had. Like, we were just terrified. You ran because if you're the slowest guy, you're going to get yelled at. I'm like, you just ran because you were scared of the dude behind you.
How many, back to the female thing, what percentage of females that attempt to be an 0861 don't make it just because of the physical aspects of it?
So, again, we've had 1, 2, 3. There was a 4th one that I know of that was a little bit before. She got dropped purely. She had like hurt her hip at MCT or something like that, like a legitimate injury, and she couldn't go on with it. She apparently she was doing academically great, super smart, but she couldn't do it because of the injury. So that's understandable. So since I've been here, the 3 that have come through have passed. I think there's another one.
So they're screened before they even get to you.
They're supposed to be screened. But some are not. Like I have one in class right now, and I got one on the inbound. But there was a female that was on my roster, supposed to be in class. They switched her because she didn't meet the standard. They're like, dude, this girl weighs 115 pounds. There's no way she's gonna lift it. So I think they made the right call, and they moved her. I think she's FDC. So they were like, dude, let's just not even attempt that. So let's just slide over here. We'll do a 1-for-1 swap, and we'll get somebody over. So I mean, they're supposed to be screened. Everyone's supposed to be screened. But then I come out, and it's like 8 failures on the MISPIS. And you're like, dude. So now we actually have an Olympic bar in our office where the kids can come and practice, and we show them, like, during breaks, like, hey, this is how you do the lift. We got a pull-up bar, some weights, ammo can. Like, we make every single effort to give these kids a success, like a really good shot. It's just on them. We have kids, like, kid is academically great, fails the MISPIS, gets recycled, he has to come back, and he goes, oh, I didn't think you guys could hold me on the MISPIS. I thought I was going to go. And I'm like, no. He's like, well, I've only been to the gym like 1 time. And I'm like, bro, we tell you guys every day you got to go to the gym. And they don't.
People don't understand, like, the job is physical. Like, it's not, when you get to the fleet, you're not sitting in a classroom anymore. Like, it's not classwork. It's fucking, you're out on your feet, moving shit, carrying shit, you know, like, even if it's even in the rear, you're still like, hey, gear layout, got to go move, 100 boxes out of the quad con, or whatever.
The worst day, and I tell these kids all the time, is like, you build your equipment when you're doing real life stuff. You build your equipment for whatever your mission set is. So if you're going to go out for 3 days, you pack for 3 days. You don't pack shit for a month and then you only go. You pack what you need. And I tell these kids, I'm like, look, we are doing ITX. So they put me with snipers. The idea was to insert. We inserted like 3 in the morning, climb to an OP, do all the prep phase stuff, and that was how it was supposed to go. And we're talking, and they're like, the sniper's like, yeah, we got all the 9 lines. I'm like, how do you have 9 lines? Like, you don't know where anything's at. And they're like, oh, we'll just do it in the morning. And I'm like, okay. And like, yeah, we're gonna have Hellfire. I'm like, how are you gonna get the Hellfire there? I'm like, I don't know what we're talking about. I'm like, none of this is adding up to
like, what are you guys even talking about right now?
And I'm like, what are you talking about right now? So they made the right call, and they put me and my lieutenant in the sniper platoon so we would get inserted. And they're like, we're going to host PGMs. And in my head, I'm like, fuck, it means I got to carry a PLDR. And they're like, and we want you to monitor this net, this net, and this net. I'm like, fuck, that's like 3-4 radios. So all in all, we did this op. Rough calculated weight, I had 151 pounds on my body.
Fuck.
Is the rough weight. I have videos, like my little helmet cam, of like 2 dudes trying to help me, like, pick me up. It was supposed, and they're like, I'm like, how far do we walk once we insert? And like, oh, it's about 4 clicks. First off, 4 clicks and 29 palms.
Yeah.
It is not fun. At night, no fun, and then you get lost. Dude, in total, we walked about 7 clicks with this weight on my back, and I made it right around the 5 clicks. Like, once I heard, like, we weren't even close, like, I was looking at my little Garmin, I'm like, bro, we have to be close. And they're like, no, we fucked up, we have to turn around. Like, all of my, like, motivation, I'm like, I can't do it. Like, I went through all 5 stages of grief. I was like, done. And that was the first time I've ever taken anything out of my pack. And I remember, like, Doc, can you please carry my radio? And he's like, fuck, bro, how many radios you have in here? I'm like, 3 with batteries for 3 days, and food, and ammo, and sappies, and the PLDR with batteries, and case, and a 201. Can you please fucking... He's like, bro, give me whatever the fuck you want, man. And he was a hoss, too. And he's like, I will help you. And I take the radio, and that was like the biggest lifesaver, was just Doc carrying one 117 radio. And I just remember I just remember, like, laying down, like, right when we got to the end, like, I was done. Emotionally drained, physically drained. I had nothing left. I was like, dude, just fucking kill me. Like, I don't want to move. And then I'm all sweaty, and I couldn't get to my shit in the bottom to like change out my top. So I'm just like, and I didn't want to, so I'm just like convulsing on this OP, freezing. Like, I don't care. Like, if I die, I die. I don't care about me right now. But you try to tell these kids that, I'm like, oh, that sounds badass. I'm like, no, none of that was badass. It was miserable.
Dude,
absolutely all of it.
It's shared misery is what that is. It's
I was the only one that miserable. Everyone else was like, you got sappies in? I'm like, yeah, I got sappies. I'm like, oh, we don't have sappies in.
What?
You motherfuckers.
Why would they not have sappies
fucking
in?
dirtbags. That shit happens. They just walked out there.
Yeah.
Like, you fucking dirtbags.
So
whatever.
what's next for you? What's how long have you been at the schoolhouse, and how long do you plan on being there?
So I'm leaving June. I'm going to 110. So if anyone in 110 is on, I'm going to 110. I'll see y'all in the summertime. But I've been here since January 2017. I taught the Chiefs class for about a year and a half and moved over to MASOC. We started dropping dudes off. It was a super shitty time. Like, dudes PCS out, but we don't have replacements. So you're just like piecemealing cats together. We're finally getting MASOC back to full strength. I got a really, really good team. I'm super excited to see what product washes out of the new MASOC stuff because of the quality of dudes that we have. I'm super pumped. And the whole new courseware. Like, again, I'm building PowerPoint as we speak. I'm excited to see what comes out, and I want to see, like, you know, we put in the work. Like, what washed out? Like, did I do anything good while I was here, or was I just, you know, showing up to show out? Like, did I make any real change to my MOS? Because that's why I wanted to come here. Is like, I feel like I have a lot to give, and I wanted to do that, and I got the opportunity, and I genuinely, I just hope I made the most of the opportunity that I was given. And I just want to see, you know, a lot of us don't get to see the fruits of our labors, or, you know, we don't get to see what product we do. But now I get to, and I'm excited to see.
You know, that's the interesting thing about going to an MOS school and teaching is that eventually you're going back to the fleet and you're going to be working with the people that you taught. And they're going to remember you. You're going to remember them. And, you know, it's just, I don't know. It's just like, if I didn't do a very good job teaching you, then I'm going to feel that pain when I get back to the fleet. Now I'm in charge of a bunch of people that barely know what they're doing because I didn't take the time. And I don't really think that's I haven't seen that issue, or I never saw that issue coming from the schoolhouse because, you know, when I went through, Gunny Abanez was my instructor for my MASOC class. And it was Gunny Abanez and I can't remember the other dudes' names, but everybody, I've always seen very good professionalism, and they tried to, like, you know, I don't know. It seemed like they wanted to be there, just like you're saying. Like, they wanted to make a difference. They wanted to make a good product because they understand, you know, these are the future war fighters that are going to be going downrange, you know, and they're going to be going downrange with them. And you know,
I'm
you
not
don't want
going on the OP. You are.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know. So you're going to 110, huh? Back to
I'm going back to 110. There's a lot of offers on the table, which is really cool. I really was really interested in the MARSOC gig, but I hurt myself. I hurt my neck. My neck is just toast. So, like, this whole right arm, like, if I look up, it just goes numb. I can still, like, do I can't even do pull-ups with my thumb forward. I have to do, like, chin-ups now because my tricep is just juice. It's disgusting. It's just, there's nothing here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like, people think I'm joking because I'll push with my good arm and I'll push them away, and I'm like, okay, and I'll come back. This is my right arm, and I can't physically move anybody. Like, if I hurt myself, I'm in pain, it'll go down. So, like, I kind of, like, took I'm like, dude, I don't want to be that guy with, like, a bum arm. Like, I'm not going to rest on, I'm not even going to put myself in that situation to be there, like, well, I got a bad arm. No, motherfucker, you're here, you better work.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
You know, and then really it's just the arm thing that really bothers me. The back is, you get used to the back. The knees, they're fine. They'll get over it. But, yeah, really, it's just the arms. So that's why I was like, man, I don't want to be, like, I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate you guys reaching out to me. Like, it is a sweet gig, and I wish I could do that. But unfortunately, I don't think right now physically I'm a good fit with your year-long pipeline. Like, dude, I struggle to do everything. I get the 115 up. I do that pretty easily. But, you know, it just sucks.
You're getting old, man. And the military ages you, like, quicker.
Bro, this sucks. But no, so, yeah, 110 going back. I'm excited, again, to see what the product is. Excited to make changes. Not make changes, but, like, you know, make shit better than what you find it as, which is, you know, what I think everybody should do is make the genuine effort. Don't just ride the wave, man. Do it the right way or the easy way. And I just want to do it the right way and put in the best effort. And I just really hope that, we all make that difference. Everybody. Like, even Lance Corporals are changing me, just how they talk. And I'm like, yeah, that's a good point, man. You know, reaching out to the PFCs and be like, hey, man, what do you think about this? I'm like, why are you asking a PFC? I'm like, because this PFC is super smart, dude. Like, he's a normal dude just like us. Just, I have more rank. That just means more experience.
It's never a bad idea to ask somebody a question that's on the outside looking in, because they're going to have a completely different perspective, which could, they could give you an answer that you were searching for that you just couldn't come up with because you were looking at it from a different viewpoint, and they're coming from a different angle and looking at it. So this, I'm all about letting the little guys talk and express their ideas when the time is right. You know what I'm saying?
No, absolutely, yeah. And that's what I tell the kids. I tell the kids, never miss an opportunity to shut up. Because that was, the best advice I ever got. So now when I talk to the kids, and they're like, oh, Stafford, what'd you do? I'm like, you better miss an opportunity? Yes, Stafford. All right, tight. And then they'll say something like, you gonna admit? I'm like, no, sir, I have an idea. Okay, man, what do you got? I'm all about that. But, never miss an opportunity to shut up. So that's what we try to tell these kids. Sometimes and I tell them too, sometimes you just need to be quiet and listen because someone else is probably going to answer your question for you. Just wait a little bit. Wait it out. And if you still don't know, then ask your question. Because if you have that question, someone else probably has it too. Just like you hear it 1,000 times. You hear it
1,000 times, but people still don't want to ask the question, man. People still don't want to be they don't want to feel inferior because they have to ask a question. And I see it still. I see it in college as well. I'm sitting here in these college classes, and I'm like, there's no way everyone understands this. And
I'm not the lowest denominator here.
When I was in my Italian class, I was
that today in the car.
I felt like I was the biggest idiot in the class because I was the only one that'd be like, I don't get this, and then other people would, after I would be like, I don't get this, the other people would be like, me neither. And then it got to the point where the professor would just, after she would go over a topic, she'd be like, Justin, do you understand this? And I'm like, God, I fuck it, I know you're doing it because I'm the only one that'll tell you. But
fuck, it
feels like shit when they're always like, Justin, do you get this? Like, see,
Yeah. I'm always that guy. We'll go into a meeting or something and they'll start spouting out the acronyms. And I'm like, excuse me, what is that acronym? What does ATS mean? I don't. Oh, okay, thanks. The word revetment, I didn't know what revetment was, and I'm trying to control it. It was an A10, and he's like, yeah, Roger, I see. I got one Hulk by the revetment.
Revetment.
I'm like, what is a revetment? He's like, it's like a berm. I'm like, oh, Roger, a berm. Cool, got it, thanks. Yeah. And everyone like, no one knew what this word revent. I'm like, dude, ask him. He's just a dude, puts his pants on the same way you do.
Yeah.
Just flies airplanes this afternoon.
Yeah, people are afraid to ask the question. It's funny.
I'm very comfortable looking. I'm just not. I know I'm not dumb. So whatever your perception of me is fine. I know I'm not. So I'm going to ask what you perceive as to be a dumb question because I don't know.
Nobody knows everything. That's people need to realize. And you don't know what you don't know. Until someone teaches you something about your specific trade, how are you expected to know it? Yeah. Maybe not words like that, but just specific things within the job.
And that's what instructors get pissed off at their students. And it's like, bro, like you said, they don't know what they don't know, man.
You've been around this world for 4 to 8 years, and now you're an instructor, and you understand it because you've lived it. Now these guys are coming out of high school.
Yeah, they were asking to go to the bathroom in math class less than 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And people forget that.
Yeah.
It's like, this kid literally graduated in June, went to boot camp, MCT, now he's here. And now he's expected to, know all this shit. Dude, he was probably not even that good in high school. He was probably just your C average kid. And you can't expect this kid to be phenomenal on the first go.
And you're not learning tactical shit at boot camp. You're just getting hazed and fucking marching. That's it.
Yeah, left and right. So I think boot camp needs to get moved around a little bit. Again, how do you do port arms with a rifle with a pistol grip? You don't. It doesn't make any sense to me, but we do it anyway.
So you look MCT nice at the parades.
I mean, that's cool. I understand the big picture, but it's come on, dude, what are we doing here? We're not about to line up against the redcoats.
They're never getting rid of that kind of shit.
I know that's literally the Marine Corps is the drill. But it's something has to happen. We sit here and preach, strategic corporal, think for yourself, problem solvers, but then we're not creating these things, and there's no transition to that. But then when you get MCT to Mesa, it's a violent slam of do what you're told, not think for yourself. But don't think too much, but don't think enough. But make sure you do this, but don't do that. And it's these kids don't know which way is up. So what do? They go in the barracks and play Fortnite until they're done.
Yeah.
And then they get yelled at. Or pizza. Dude, I'm telling you, man, pizza is outrageous. They got Postmates now. Or Postmates or Uber Eats. They'll deliver to the bricks.
Yeah.
Dude, kids are paying 35 bones for a hamburger to be delivered. Like 5 guys, $35. I'm like, dude, no wonder y'all are so broke.
You know,
I paid $35 for a burger.
I will say that it's hard for me to feel bad for somebody that's in the military that says they're broke. You know what I'm saying? I know there are specific examples that where the people something, you know, maybe they have a special needs child or you know, there's situations where people are legitimately broke, but being in the military, especially as a single guy, like you literally have zero bills. You have whatever only bills you have are ones you put on yourself. So like a cell phone bill. You don't necessarily need a cell phone, but you know, obviously you're gonna get one, obviously, but that's a bill. And then what else? Like you don't even need to go get food. They give you free food 3 times a day.
At the chow hall. Literally, that is it. Like a cell phone, and maybe the other thing is like cable in your room to like play Xbox with. When I was a sergeant, that was the only 2 things I had was like the Wi-Fi in my room and my cell phone. Yeah, or I had a car too. But you have these kids that hit the fleet. Dude, I had a kid spend $1,300 in one day at the mall. Came back from ITX, blew all his money the next day. Yeah. Had no money for a haircut. I'm like, I don't feel bad for you at all. I feel zero pity. But your average run-of-the-mill kid gets paid way more than what's like let. Everyone's like, oh, I'll pay the troops more. I'm like, no, stop making them pay stop eating out every single night of the week. Stop getting Postmates. Stop going. This kid spent over $100 in a weekend at the vending machine. I'm like, bro, give me $20 for gas. I'll take you to Sam's Club, and you can buy as much as you want, man. We had a kid. You can't drink energy drinks now. We had a kid drink 3 or 4 energy drinks a day, and he was hospitalized. This just happened, and it's like common sense. But these kids get their first taste of freedom, a little bit of freedom, and they just blow it out.
They lose their minds,
dude. And that's what I'm saying. I'm dealing with it right now. You got kids just doing dumb shit. I was a PFC at one point. Like I did a ton of dumb shit. I just wasn't dumb and stupid. You know, you can't be both at the same time.
I remember when I was at regiment and I wanted to go back down to 210 to say what's up to my buddy. So I went over there, and there was this boot that was in the corner, just like, you know, just like going crazy. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with that dude? They're like,
hyping himself up.
He had. Have you ever drank Redline?
Dude, that shit will fuck you up. Yeah.
You're supposed to drink like half the bottle, right?
Half of it. Yeah, you're supposed to drink half of that.
He drank 2 bottles of Redline before PT. And they're like, dude, we took him to medical. Like, his heart rate is super high. They said he just needs to chill. Like, there's nothing they can do about it. Like, we just got to sit here and let him not do anything so he doesn't have a heart attack. And I'm looking at him. I'm like, what the fuck? You're a fucking idiot. Like, it literally says on the bottle what to take. And you
nobody reads that shit. That's like the same thing we'll have. I said no energy drinks. I said no energy drinks, no coffee, and no Gatorade. And everyone's like, well, Gatorade's good for you. I'm like, if you're doing shit,
Gatorade is not good for you.
I'm like, bro, read the label. I'm like, it's like 2 servings of like 28 grams of sugar or whatever. So you're just pounding it's a monster. You're drinking a monster. It's the same. It's used to replenish shit.
If you want energy, be a real fire sport man, drink black coffee. Like, quit being a bitch about it.
You just drink that shit hard. I don't. I'm not real. I'm not a tough guy. I just drink regular. I put a lot of cream in there.
Then you're cutting. That's less room for caffeine, man. You can't be putting fucking creamer in there.
Dude, I'm telling you, these kids, and you try to explain it, and they're just like, oh. And they don't care. And now we getting like T8, like the big thing now is like weed's legal in Oklahoma. So there's like this gray area. Like kids don't understand. Like they don't apply to Oklahoma state law. They apply to military. Like, oh, like
federal laws, it's illegal.
Yeah, weed's legal in Oklahoma. Like, no, I get that. Trust me.
Not for you,
military. We just had stuff happen in the bricks. You know, vape is the big thing now. Vape, that's literally the big thing. It's just vape and stupidity.
Vaping, like THC vape or just like regular vape?
Like kids are, and then they're like, oh, I didn't know it was THC. It's like, come on, dude.
How often are you guys drug testing?
Frequently.
Yeah.
Like, super frequently. It's like down to a science, which is good. Like, I don't have shit.
Is it still zero tolerance?
Yeah, everything is 0.
So if you're in the MOS, schoolhouse and you get popped on a piss test, what happens?
You're done. NJP.
You're out of the Marine Corps?
Actually, I don't know, but I'll tell you in a couple days because we just had one happen. So
really,
I'll let you know. Oh yeah.
Huh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'll let you know how that washes out.
I never got it, man. Like I said before, I used to smoke a ton of weed before I joined, but I was looked at it like, dude, this can legitimately fuck up your future. Like if you get kicked out of the military, especially if you do something real dumb and you get like a dishonorable discharge, like that's a felony. That's on your record for life, And it's just like just like everything else, man, people don't understand the consequences of their actions. They don't think about it before, they don't think about the long-term effects of it. But I always just looked at it like, at the time I was like, I had a wife and a kid. Like, I'm not going to be doing that while I'm in the military. Like, why am I going to put all this I have, especially after my first 4 years and I'm like, now I'm a careerist, I've been there, for a little while. It's like, why would I throw away all this shit just to go smoke some weed? Like, and don't get me wrong, there's a few times when I went on leave where I'm like, man, I could probably smoke, like, take a couple hits and, like, I'd be good. But I was just like, no, dude, that's so stupid. Like, what the fuck am I thinking?
Dude,
like,
and then you got to sweat it. Like, think you're a mental state there. Now you're sweating it and for that long.
You're getting a piss test when you come back from a 96 or leave or, like, a leave block. Like,
every time.
I just never got it.
I've never actually smoked weed, which sounds weird, but it was just, I remember, like, I was like 16 was the first time I really saw it, and there's kids smoking, and they would just, like, giggle and fall asleep. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm out of here. Like, it just was not appeasing to me at all. Like, that was just money, like, hey, man, give me, like, $30. And I'm like, nah, man, that's money I could put in my car. So, like, I'm very excited to get out and, like, try it. Very pumped. But as of like right now, like it's just not something that it's like I really don't care.
It's just like everything else. Like as long as you use it responsibly. Like,
I'm even seeing, dude, alcohol for me now that I'm old. I'm like, alcohol's way worse. I've done so much dumb shit drinking alcohol. Like if I drink, I'm always gonna fight somebody. I'm always going to be just reckless. There's a chance. But I feel like if I smoke, I'm just going to, like, pass out. I'm just like, what, I'm going to wake up hungry? Like,
I mean, you don't even do that. It depends on how much you're smoking or eating or whatever. But, and, it's funny because I have people that'll be kind of judgy, like, oh, I can't believe you smoke weed, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, you're telling me this as we're, like, pouring drinks, like, alcohol is way worse for you than that. If I could have one or the other, if they were like, hey, you can only smoke weed or drink alcohol for the rest of your life, I would definitely
I'd be weed all day.
That would
just wouldn't drink for the rest of my career. I'd wait.
It's just super mellow, It's nice mellow thing, but it's not. Again, it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
So
I've never seen two dudes high like fight each other. I've never seen like two dudes like smoke and then just like fist fight. Drinking happens all the time. Like you're just I know me. I just get enraged. Like I'm looking for a fight, and that's why I don't drink anymore. Drinking almost cost me like. Yeah, drinking almost cost me my marriage. It was bad, and I was like, and she was like, it's either me or the drinking. Or not like that, but she's like, you need to fucking stop or I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Like,
well, at least you recognize that there was an issue, and you took care of it. That's the problem is people can't recognize that, they have a problem and that they should like pull back or stop it altogether. Like,
but you have to have a filler, man. You got to find something to do with, and that's one another big thing is like I tell these kids, I'm like, be a good Marine. But get a fucking hobby, dude. And they're like, Staff Sergeant, can I do cars? I'm like, the Marine Corps offers so much, bro. I wish I wasted so much time getting drunk in the barracks. I could have gone out to just so much stuff. Like, now that I'm older, and it sounds really weird, but like, lame, but it's like, dude, like the single Marine program, like all these different things. I'm like, dude, if I could go back, I would eat that shit up.
Dude, the single Marine program out here at Pendleton, they're taking dudes up to the mountains to go ski. They're going up to Bear Mountain to go skiing and snowboarding. They're going to Vegas. They're doing trips to Vegas. Cheap. It's like, what? Like, I was never a single Marine, so I didn't get to participate. But like, I'm like, that would be fucking cool, man, to like go and snowboard all day and then come back. You don't have to worry about a ride. You don't have to worry about anything. Like, it's all taken care of.
They do everything. And that's what I'm really kicking myself. And that's why I try to tell these kids, I'm like, dude, go out and do, like, you cannot focus on just being a fire supporter all day. Like, you cannot just do like, you cannot drink that much Kool-Aid. You have to go out and put your brain on something else. Video games are not always going to solve that void. That's what I found out was video games are great until I was like 25, and then I did them out of habit. Like I knew I was going to play for a game or two. Like I play Siege like for like 6 hours straight, and then wake up for like go to bed at 3, wake up at like 5 for PT, and I was just like, this is my life now. But that's like super unhealthy, and I would drink the whole time. That was just my routine. And then I was like, I can't drink. Well, if I play, I drink, so I'll probably stop playing. And then I'm just sitting here, I'm like, what do I do? So like finding hobbies. Yeah. And I'm gonna plug the jiu-jitsu thing now, but like that's my thing now. Yeah. Is
a lot of people found
this, dude, and it's so awesome because one of my favorite things about it is like, one, you're just like choking out your best friends, but the best people I've ever met are at this gym. They're not, some are military, some aren't, but they're just genuinely phenomenal people, and I just love everything, and that's what filled my drinking gap. It was, I made the commitment. I was like, I'm gonna do this shit for like 30 days hardcore. And if it works out, awesome. If it doesn't, at least I can say I gave it a shot. Because I didn't know what I was walking. These dudes in pajamas and shit. I'm like, what am I? Like, I don't know. I got like 14-year-olds that are like knotting me up. I'm like, this shit sucks. But
I started, and I found it's the reason why, because I compete a lot. I love competing.
Oh, that's cool.
It's the reason why I eat right. It's the reason why I don't drink as much. It's the reason I get up and go to the gym. Like I hate going to the weightlifting gym. I cannot stand it. I hate lifting.
Oh, really?
I just can't stand it. But I know, like, I have to go to the gym and I have to get stronger because that dude's trying to fight. Like, we're literally fighting each other.
Yeah.
We're trying to choke each other and break my arm. Like, I have to be stronger. So that's why, I was training up to 10 times a week. Like, I would go in the morning, I would go in the evening. I would just get beat up. And I loved everything about it because the progression, right? You can be a white belt, doesn't know anything, and you learn and learn and learn, and then you become a blue belt. Well, cool, you're a really good white belt, but now you're a super shitty blue belt, and you have to start all over. And, like, the road just expands, and you're like, shit, I gotta learn all of this now. And it's so much fun. So if anyone's, like, looking for just, like me, I'm not violent, but like I'm aggressive. Like I like getting dirty. I like that energy output. I like that visceral head to head. I don't like team sports because it sucks. Like I can do my best and like we still lose. I'm like, this is stupid. Like why am I even here? Mm-hmm. But like jiu-jitsu is like, it takes 100 people to get you on that mat. But once you're on that mat, it's just you, dog. Yeah. Like it's just you and me, and we're fighting. And it's like one of us is gonna come out the other side. But it's huge. They have huge outreaches for PTSD. They give away free gis if you're a military guy. I think it's gi.
What gym do you go to?
So I train out of there's 2 gyms here in Lawton, and I train out of Lawton MMA, and that's so it's an actual fight gym as well. But it falls under Ricardo Cavalcanti, and the lineage is like under the Gracie family as well. So it's like the lineage is a big deal. So I train. My coach, is Coach Derek, and then you have. There's a first sergeant works on base. He runs the fight house. He's also my jiu-jitsu coach. So cool. Justin is the first sergeant, and it's like, hey Justin, can I come train on your side? And he's like, yeah, dude, just call my guys and you can have the mat. I'm like, this is awesome. And now we're trying to get that into the Marine detachment too. Like I'm working with one of the captains. I got him in it. He's like trying to pull everyone in. I'm trying to like make this group of fighters to just, let's get away from doing the rudimentary bullshit and let's choke each other out and try to break arms. And now we're trying to secure space and get mats. We're trying to make this a thing, Yeah. And it's huge. I mean, I feel just emotionally 1,000 times better, mentally 1,000 times better. Just everything about it is just legit. And again, it may be for everyone, may not be, but that shit just changed my life, like full tilt. And that's all I want to do. But that's what I dove into. I'm the guy that dives into something full hard. Like if I'm going in, like I'm going in full tilt, man.
That's awesome, man. Well, I'm glad you found an outlet. That's what I think that's a problem a lot of people have is they just sit around being miserable and they stay in their routine of misery, and it's just a cycle. It's a vicious cycle, and they never break that routine by doing something like jiu-jitsu or I like to go hunting and backpacking, or not hunting, excuse me, hiking and backpacking. I do. Yeah. I would like to get back into hunting. I haven't gone on forever. I actually just got two 270 rifles. Over the holidays, I inherited them from my uncle that passed away. So I think I'm going to take my son out and start hunting with him. But yeah, you got to have an outlet. You got to get something that gets you away from your phone, get you away from the Xbox or PlayStation or whatever, and just
find something. What I really find something and just give it a genuine fucking shot.
For sure.
Don't do something once and get off. Like I tried racing car. Like autocross is something that's always been
fun, super fun.
I thought this would be great, and then I was like, I'm going to do one full season of autocross, make a genuine effort, and I did, and it sucked. Because I have to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, drive all the way to OKC, pay all these tolls to get there. I had a blast rate, but I would spend, like 6 hours to get, 5 minutes of fun.
Well,
so for me, the juice wasn't worth it, but autocross was a blast. So if there's something near me, dude, I'm totally down to do that again for another season.
If you look it up when you get back to North Carolina, because the SCCA, they're based out of Wilmington, which is not even an hour away. But they also did at least once, but usually twice a year, they would shut down a runway at Cherry Point and set up a course there. So that's autocross and you can do any car. Like you can literally take any car out there and run it. It's such a great time. Such a great time. But so let's go ahead and wrap this up. Is there anything else you want to shout out or any other organizations or anything?
No, do you have time for one story? Because I know you were talking about your stories, and I want to talk about the infamous penis and division fires, because I know that shit cracks me up. So, Afghanistan, 2011, Merc chat, just like AIM chat windows, you can do a thing called Whisper. And when you whisper somebody, it's just like you talk to that person direct. So it'll pop up and you can do that.
It's private messaging,
Yeah, it's a little PM. So then my buddy was messaging one of the girls that worked in S2.
Oh my god.
So he was doing his thing, and I was like, oh man, I wish I had somebody whisper. And he's like, oh man, you can whisper me, man. I'll pretend to be a girl. And I'm sitting like 3 feet away from this guy. And I'm like, all right, man, cool. So I pull up his name, and I type in penis, and I hit enter. And I'm looking at the screen, and nothing pops up.
Oh.
And I'm like, what the fuck?
I put it in the wrong screen.
Yeah, and I'm like, don't look down. And I look down in the bottom left, and it says, in the division fires window, where everybody works, in big old capital block letters with a period, penis.
And
I'm just like,
what was the reaction when that people started seeing it?
Bro, so I don't know if so. The way the digital radio checks works, you hit your period, and everyone would respond with one more period than you put. So that's how you knew the thing was working. So as soon as that happened, the lieutenant's sitting right there. He is not paying attention. No one knows what's going on. The fucking penis is literally on like the Division CG's board, like above his head in his office, because he has a 36-inch television, which is 2 feet above him. It's in everybody's office, and I'm just shitting. I'm like, oh god, I just got promoted corporal in August 1st. This happened September 1st, and I'm like, this is it. I'm no longer corporal. So I'm panicking, and I'm like trying to get radio checks, and then my whispers start popping up. The entire RC Southwest is like, bro, you're so fucked. I don't know who this is, but you're going down. And the other one's like, that is the funniest shit I've ever seen in my life. And they're like, dude. It was like this myriad of shit. And I'm like, shut the fuck up and put something in the fire's window. Because we're trying to get the window to get bumped up so it's off everybody's screen. So, and nothing's happened. It's just big old, the word penis. So stupid at the time. But again, like, I was dumb. And I call Gunny McNeese. And I call him. And
I know Gunny
like,
McNeese.
Yeah, dude, that's who I aspire to be one day. So I call this dude, and he's like, what's up, penis toucher? And I'm like, hey, Gunny, I fucked up. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, I fucked up bad. Look at the division window. He's like, oh, it can't be that bad. Give me a second. I'll call you back. Click. And I'm like, oh, no. So then he starts sending these links like, hey, did you copy this file to this thing? And it's like a zipper link. So it's just these huge, like, astronomically stupid long links.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, Roger, totally did that. You should probably check this link too. And now we're trying to blow this spot out.
Yeah.
And people are like, why is your computer dinging so much? I'm like, don't worry about it. Nothing here. Just coordinating some fires.
Just doing fire stuff on my
fires.
fires.
Just mind your own fucking business. So, and again, like the Lance Corporal rule, if you make it 24 hours, you're probably safe.
Yeah, for sure.
My lieutenant has no idea. The only person that knows is Gunny. And this thing has been all over the division, AO. And the next day, Lieutenant, I'm like, 24 hours has passed. Your boy's good. I've already eaten chow. We're good. Lieutenant gets a call and it says, yes, sir, he's sitting right here. No? What? And I can hear him start talking about some shit. I'm like, dude, this is not good. And this dude was like the biggest sweetheart lieutenant. Hangs up the phone, spins around, and he's like, Rob, do you have something to tell me? And I'm like, I put penis in the division fire's window and I didn't tell anybody. Like an absolute just
What'd he say?
idiot. So he's like, I have to go talk to the colonel now.
Oh.
And I'm like, fuck. So he leaves. The phone rings. It's my sergeant. I pick up. I'm like, yes. And he goes, hey, man, you should just be ready because they're going to call you in and you have to talk to the colonel.
God.
And the colonel saw it. The division CG, actually the MEF CG saw it. General Toolin saw it. Just be ready because this is a shitstorm. And just to let you know, your lieutenant's probably about to get fired and sent home. Due to like lack of trust and confidence. And I'm like, bro, like I'm about to this is bad. So I'm just absolutely sweating. A couple hours go by. Lieutenant's never come back. We got like one guy on the fire scene. I'm just dying. Phone rings again. It's Gunny Mac. And he's like, and Gunny Mac always joked around. Answers the phone. I'm like, yes, Gunny Sergeant. He's like, come over here. Make sure you dust off your boots. Make sure your camis look good. Click. And I'm like, oh my God. So I go in, I walk over, go in the office. Gunny Mac, super serious. And he's like, hey, you have to go talk to the colonel. I'm going to be honest, you're probably done right now. But you made a mistake. You have to own it. And I'm just like, fuck, dude. I'm like, all right. There's no one in this office. This office usually has like 30 people. There's nobody in there. And I'm just like, fuck, dude. So he's like, all right. Deep breath, go in there. So I'm like, fuck, man. I grab the handle. Like, dude, I'm like shaking. Like, I can hear the door handle like clicking as I'm trying to shake. And I'm like, dude, this is like, what do I do? And I'm like, don't be a bitch. Don't be a bitch. Like, you made a mistake. Own it. I open the door and I step in all proper. I'm like, good afternoon, sir. Corporal Raabe reporting his order. And I like look down and my lieutenant is sitting there with his feet on the colonel's desk. And I'm like, what the fuck? and then just a fucking kidney shot from hell just blasts me right in my back. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And I fall down. And they're like, Rob, don't ever do that again. And I'm like, all right, tight. Yep, got it. Sweet.
I'll accept that.
Never type penis in the window again. And that was it. No one ever knew.
It's such a stupid thing, and it's like it's funny how people would get worked up about stuff in the Merc window. People would be like, I'm not putting any fucking dots in the window. Like, I'm done.
Yeah, whatever. But yeah, that was a huge thing. Literally the entire RC Southwest saw that. The whispers were hilarious. I've heard people like, yeah, I remember back in the day someone typed penis. I'm like, bro, that was me. Like, I got away with that.
You're like, that was me. It's whatever. It's whatever.
That's like the only claim to fame I have. It's the only thing successful I've done with my life.
Yeah, right.
Dude, it was... But yeah, I just thought that shit was hysterical. Like, looking back. But again, like, if it happened again, like, that kid would be done. Like, I would be fried. The way the world is now, like, you just don't get that kind of treatment. But
yeah, that's for sure. Well, man, I appreciate you coming on the show. I think I'll probably have you come on again at some point. You know, we can talk about it. Once you get over to 110, talk about what it's like to get back to the fleet and everything like that. Because I feel like you have a lot more stories to tell, and
shit, man.
You know, we have a similar background, which is cool. Like a lot of our background's pretty similar, so that's pretty neat.
As I was listening to your podcast, because now that's like my car thing now, is I have it, but I have a 5-minute drive to work, and I'm like, everything you said, I'm like, oh damn, that was me too. Like, yeah, my granddad was in the, oh shit, my dad too, and like a lot of the things you're saying, I'm like, oh yeah, we did the same thing. But yeah, and if anyone's like listening, like reaches out to me, like questions or like anything, like how do you reach these kids? Like, I'm totally game. I don't care. Like, okay, don't text me and be like, haze the shit out of them, like beat the shit out of them. Like, constructive criticism.
You want to give out your Instagram or your any social media handles?
I don't even remember what mine is.
I think it's DC _Raabe.
Yeah, it's DC _Raabe. Yeah, because I changed it. I try to be more professional because now I got kids looking me up. So, but yeah, DC _Raabe, Raabe. Looks like Raabe, so like DC Raabe. Find me on there. If I don't accept you, I don't accept people like I don't know. So, like, if I don't know you, then I'm not going to talk to you.
You can still message you, though.
Yeah, you can still have to be friends. Like, hey, man, yeah, heard the thing.
You pronounce your name Robbie? Or Raabe?
Yeah.
How do you say it?
It looks like, yeah.
I thought it was Raabe.
Everybody does. They're like, Mr. Raabe? I'm like, yep, that's close enough. Doesn't change my paycheck, so you're good.
That's pretty funny. Well, hey, thanks again for coming on the show. And for everyone.
I appreciate it.
Oh, no problem, man. And for everyone out there, my Instagram is jkramergraphics, and jkramergraphics.com is my website, formeractionguyspodcast@gmail.com if you want to send me a message. Actually, we're up on the YouTube platform now. I've uploaded all the audio to YouTube, and then once we go to video, we'll start posting there. So feel free, if you're listening, to subscribe on YouTube, and that's a great place because you can actually leave comments there, too, where you can't in all these like music apps that people are listening to the podcast on. So go to the YouTube app, subscribe there, leave comments, and I'll comment back and answer questions. And if it has to do with a particular guest, you can obviously comment on their episode, and if they don't see it, I'll see if they can come in and answer a question for them. So yeah, all right, man. Well, have a good one,
dude. Huge, appreciate it. Thanks for everything, man. This has been awesome, trying to get out some words and stories and try to debunk some rumors. And anyone has anything, and I'm always open.
Yeah, good. No problem, man. All right, later, everybody.